What blows my mind though is like you can buy an F-150 and spend $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
And I mean, like we live in Michigan and we dump all this salt on the roads, and I mean OEM, we can't even get cars the last 10 years. And you're gonna gamble it all on some rattle can etch?
You're using a $6 can of rattle can on a $100,000 truck. You deserve a beating.
I couldn't agree more. I'm super excited about this interview we're doing today. We're sitting down with the legendary Jeff Matauch for the third time. Now, we've interviewed him twice before, and if you haven't checked those out, they're packed with tons of good information, but this interview is going a completely different direction, and it's completely different than the first two that we did. We're mainly gonna focus on Jeff's philosophy on paint and procedure on high-end restoration and customizing, specifically on some cars that he's built in the past. And we're gonna highlight some of his bigger builds, like this 1954 Chevy pickup truck. It's a 3100 3-window that's pretty famous, but also his latest build that he released at the Detroit Autorama. It's a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible. Now, I don't think I should give you guys a background on Jeff because I think most people know who he is, but in the world of paint, in the world of paint technology, Jeff is always gonna be the smartest guy in the room. He probably has forgotten more about paint and paint technology than even 50-year-old painters like myself have ever even known. So this is gonna be a special interview packed with a ton of information. So grab your popcorn, put your seatbelt on tight, turn those airbags off, and enjoy. All right, hey, I wanna talk to you about the 54 Chevy. It's a 3100 3-window that you built. It's obviously the one behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So when you stripped it, how did you take it to raw metal? Did you media blast it, chem strip it, mechanical, or a little bit of both? And what was your philosophy on that?
There was a lot of it was blasted.
Okay.
That I just did myself.
Yeah.
A lot of it was hand sanded.
Okay.
You know, DA.
Yeah. So you did a combination of media blasting and sand blasting.
Yeah. The roof of it, the truck had come from Arizona, so it had a lot of that desert rust on it. So the roof had a lot of that rust, which commonly known as patina.
Yeah.
But I hate that.
Yeah. So once you get it to raw metal, like, are you wanting to be in an 80 grit, 100, 120, 150? Like,
well,
what are you setting it up?
To get that rust off, I ground it with 40 grit. Now I would use... I didn't want to blast it because I was worried about it
warp the roof,
warping,
and the hoods, especially on those trucks.
But a good blaster could probably
off.
do it. But at that time, I did it myself, so I didn't want to sandblast it. Now they use there's some naval jellies and stuff that you can use to get rid of that rust. That works really good. But I just ground it as well as I could with a 8-inch mud hog and 40 grit, and then I went over it with 80 real well. And then I metal prepped it. I used the 2-step acid, phosphoric acid.
Yeah, the metal conversion coatings. Yeah, you helped us do a video on that.
Right,
so.
and then the zinc phosphate. I did that. And I'll tell you, that truck, I painted it in 2010.
Yeah.
And to this day, nothing has come back on that roof.
So obviously, if you do the metal conversion coatings, you can't use an etch. You have to use an epoxy, correct? At least with PPG system.
Right. I mean, etch, I totally stay away from etch for restoration work.
Okay.
Etch is great for collision production work.
Yeah.
Because it's fast, and if you got cut throughs and, bare metal areas, then you can use an etch, and then you can use either a urethane primer or a urethane sealer over the top of it, no problem.
Yeah.
The problem with etch for restoration is they don't work well with epoxies.
Okay.
They don't adhere real well to each other.
Yeah.
Unless it's stated in the paperwork that you can put epoxy over etch, but most epoxies don't want you to put etch underneath them. Also, you usually can't put body filler over the top of etch primer.
Okay, so basically, when you're talking bare metal, you're talking etch or epoxy. In your opinion, epoxy is a superior product than etch. Don't let me put words
For
in your mouth.
restoration, yes.
For restoration.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of guys are putting their body fillers, their Bondo, their putty, or whatever over a primer, and you
Right.
wouldn't recommend that with etch. It'd be an epoxy.
Yeah, you
Okay.
put it over epoxy. Yeah.
So, what epoxy did you run with this particular truck?
Well, back then the only thing I had was DP.
yeah. So, is the DPLF or
was-
LV?
You know what? To be honest with you, I think I had some of the old DP stuff.
Oh, the original
Yeah,
stuff?
the
Okay.
original stuff.
You got lucky.
The original chromated stuff.
Well, obviously, we can't get that now, but if you were to do it over again, would
Right.
you use DPLF
No,
or LV?
DPLF is garbage.
Okay. So, you don't like either of those products because you.
LV's okay.
Yeah.
LF is junk.
Yeah.
I use the Del Fleet
The Belpy F4921.
4921. I like the black.
Ironically, on the street right now, the DPLF with the 401 is the king. People think that that's like a very, very close second to the original. I'm with you,
Do yourself a favor if you're using DP. Spray it out on a panel. This is DPLF. And just let it sit for a week. Let it sit for 2 weeks. Then take a little bit of acetone or a little bit of lacquer thinner and just let that panel sit. But 2 weeks later, take that panel and take some acetone or thinner and wipe it. Take a rag and wipe it. If it comes off, guess what that means? It's not cured. So anything you're putting on top of it, you're creating a sandwich of a soft epoxy. And the thicker you lay that DP down, the worse it is. Okay, if you put a thin layer down, you might get away with it. But a thicker layer, if you're putting 2 or 3 coats of DP down and then you're putting something on top of it, you're probably going to have issues. And I can tell you, I did have issues with this. So,
Yeah.
I had to do a little bit of rework on it a few years later just because the DP was starting to let loose. I'll never use DP again.
Ironically, that Del Fleet epoxy, the F4921, it's actually cheaper.
It
And in
is.
my opinion, it's easier to work
It's
with
probably half the cost of DP.
until this one gets out, and then PPG season,
Yeah.
and is that how that works? But I think one of the things that people like, the reason why they still use DPLF is because, I've been using it for 20 years. That's what I'm comfortable with. But and I admit I was one of those guys, and it took you a couple years to get me off that. But when we went to the 4921, it's a 3-1-1 mix ratio versus the 2-1. And I'm like, that's weird because there's 4 quarts in a gallon. But what they do is they load it with 3 quarts.
They short fill the gallon.
which is smart.
Yeah.
Because then when I use my quarter hardener, my quarter reducer, and my 3 quarts that are in a gallon, that's my kit, and I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not too often. I'm spraying a whole gallon of DP. But,
Yeah. But I'm a weirdo.
But,
I
but
hate,
it's 3 to 1 to 1.
yeah, I hate
is the
3 to
mix
1 to
ratio.
1 products though. When you buy a gallon and then a quart in a quart, because
Yeah.
you always
It's
run
always
out
off.
of one.
It's
Yeah.
always off. Yeah.
So PPG was at least good on that one.
yeah.
But when we used to use the DPLF with the 401 hardener, like, I don't know what the P sheet says, but it's like, hey, if you put a coat on, you can wait a half an hour and top coat it. We would wait 2-3 days, scuff it, and then we would high build it. Do you have to do that with the F4921?
You have to wait at least overnight.
So like 8-10 hours?
The difference is though, so DP, if you put 2 coats down and you let it sit for a couple days
Yeah.
and you go to lightly sand it before you put anything on top of it, it's gummy. It's
Yeah.
gooey.
Likes the ball.
Yeah, it never fully cures.
Yeah.
4921, if you give it an overnight cure, you just go to sand it powders right up.
So I know that a lot of people like to put their body filler over epoxy.
Yep.
Now, I think that it would be best to put your epoxy on and let it cure, not dry, then sand it and put the body filler over that. There's some yahoos out there, man, who will spray it, wait overnight, and put their body filler over unsanded epoxy. I think that's crazy. And I guess I want to know your opinion on that. Like, if I spray my epoxy, let's say I do use F4921, how long should I wait? What's the shortest amount of time? And then, not the longest, because you could obviously wait, a year.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's the realistic amount of time that, hey, you don't have to wait after 30 days or 21 days or whatever? Let's assuming that it's 60 degrees in the shop. what's that window that you like to put that epoxy down? And then what grits are you using? And then how long are you waiting before we put our body filler on it? In a fast situation, a perfect situation.
4921 stays open pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, like, so the two epoxies in PPG world that I like to use are 4921 for all my bare metal and any body work or anything like that. And then for a high build, I use either CRE or the
VP 2050.
VP 2050. Yeah. The 2050 is not a true epoxy. Okay. It's an epoxy urethane hybrid.
Yeah.
So it does have epoxy characteristics, but it still has a lot of urethane in it too. Now, I'll tell you that particular product, as good as it is not my favorite choice for direct to metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree 100%.
Because of the urethane that's in it, I am very uncomfortable putting it over bare metal unless I metal prep it.
Yeah.
Okay. If I do the two-step metal prep with the zinc phosphate and the phosphoric acid and all that, then I'm pretty comfortable with that. So, but that stuff, when it cures, I'm talking about the 2050 or the CRE. It's hard as a rock, man.
Yeah.
And if you put body filler over that without sanding on it, it's coming off, I guarantee you.
There's a lot of guys out there, and I guess we're talking high-end stuff. If you're building like demolition derby cars or middle-of-the-road cars,
Yeah.
maybe you can put your CRT or your VP 2050. But just so I'm hearing you correctly, is if you have raw steel, and I
Yep.
don't care how you got there, you're doing the two-step metal conversion coating.
Yes.
Then you're going to do your F4921 Del Fleet epoxy, whatever we want to call it. The DPLF is dead.
Yeah.
We're going to let that dry up. We're going to put our body filler over there. And then a lot of people are putting that CRE or that VP 2050 right on raw steel because it can be direct to metal or whatever. And I know it'll work, but you're saying that the Del Fleet is better if we're looking for like protection?
Del Fleet is better. It's a true epoxy. It holds out better. It sticks better. It's got better corrosion protection. Yeah. So 4921, when they do a salt spray test. Now, a salt spray test is they'll spray their panels with their whatever they're going to use. They're going to use their epoxy. They might put a sealer on top of it. They top coat it. They clear coat it. They do all that. That's how they do test panels. Then they take and they scratch them back down to the metal. You know, just do scratches on them. From there, they put it in a salt water tank,
yeah,
where it's constantly having salt water sprayed on it. And that test usually goes for 1,000 hours.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. And panels sitting there for 1,000 hours. And what they're looking for is, it's always going to fail,
yes,
right? But how bad does it fail? And how much rust creep do you get from those scratches?
Yeah.
The panels that are metal prepped and sprayed with 4921 hold up better than OE panels with factory E-coat.
Yeah, love it.
Yep.
Love it.
That is the best. Nothing else holds up that well.
And the reason why I'm asking you this is because we all have our opinions. I like this, and the only reason why you're saying that's because that's what you like, and everyone's got their own opinion. And there's some truth to that.
That's why I like it,
yeah,
because of the way it tests out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some truth to that, but also there's some opinions that are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I like it because you've seen it, you've tested it, you've compared product A versus product B. You've not only just used it in your shop, but you've actually seen it in a lab too.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, if I'm going to do a car and spend all this time and money on it, that 4921 is a cheaper product. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a different product. Yeah, the mixed ratio is different, but it's actually faster. And you know, I don't have to wait that 3 days versus I can wait 1 day.
Right.
And it's a superior product. I just don't understand why people are so hesitant to use it.
I think the spec sheet calls out a 72-hour max before you have to scuff it.
Okay.
I am going to sand it overnight.
Okay.
If I let it sit overnight, I'm going to sand it, and I'll usually hit it. I might hit it with 180 or 220 or something. I'm not going to sand it real hard. You don't have to sand it real hard. Any little nooks and crannies, I might go after it with a red pad. You know, I like a good scuff on it.
Yeah.
And then just blow it all off, clean it with a degreaser, and start going to town with your body work.
So in theory, you could put your body filler on, let's say 24 hours later. What's the longest you have to wait before you're just getting silly? Would you wait longer than 30 days if the garage was 60 degrees? I mean,
a lot of times I'll strip a car down to bare metal and metal prep it, and then I'll put the epoxy on it. It might sit for 6 months before I get back to that particular part.
Well, let's say
because I'm lining up all my panels and everything else before I ever put body filler down.
Let's say you were go baby go mode and you were doing a Riddler and you were super OCD. What's the longest you have to wait? And then after that time period, you're just, kind of chasing your tail. Is 30 days the longest?
What do you mean?
Wait? I know you can wait 6 months or a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But let's say you weren't comfortable with the 1 day or 2 day because it's dry and it's not fully cured. How long would you wait before it was fully cured before you did the sand and put the body?
Usually 3 days, it's pretty cured.
Okay.
Within 72 hours at 65, 70 degrees, it's going to be cured.
With the DPLF, we wouldn't even top coat
it. I'm telling you, try it. Take DPLF and put it on a panel and let it sit for a week and then wipe it off with thinner. I'm telling you, it'll come off.
I know you know this, but with DPLF, with the 401 hardener, the pot life is 3 days.
401's even worse than 402.
You got a 7-day window where you don't even have to scuff it to top coat it.
Yeah, that tells you it's not cured.
Yeah. So it's not even.
Let's put all our body filler over it. You got a sandwich there that's gonna blister off.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen so many times. Yeah. I used to go out on troubleshooting calls all the time when I worked for PPG.
Yeah.
And I'd go to these restoration shops, and these guys would have Bondo blistering off these cars, and it was always the ones that used DPLF every single time.
I think the 3 failures that I ever had using PPG in 30 years, and they were all self-inflicted. One of them wasn't. We had a base coat separation problem that PPG's just fixed, no problem. But the 2 that we had were both epoxy related.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was my fault. I put it on too thick, didn't wait long enough.
Well, it depends on the area. Like, I had a failure right in that area on the windshield, right where that comes together. But that's where, when you're spraying, you're hitting that and it's building up a lot.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. The DP was too thick.
You think if you would have used the F4921, it would have had that problem?
No, because it goes on a lot thinner. And when it cures hard as a rock. So you don't get that problem.
That metal phosphate coating.
Yeah.
I think what freaks people out is that you get a car to raw metal. Let's say it's an 80 grit.
Yep.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, I prime over 240 or 320 or 150. And a lot of times we're priming over around 80 because
80's fine on bare metal, yeah.
Because it's going to shrink forever and you're going to do your mud work and stuff like that on top of it. But I think what freaks people out is when they do that 2-step system, you have to use water.
Yes.
And I think it freaks
It does
people
freak
out.
them out. Yes, yes. Well, here's the deal. They think they're putting water on bare metal.
Yeah.
You're not. Okay, when you spray that SX579 on there and you let it sit for a minute, and I rub it all in real good with a Scotch-Brite pad, then I rinse it. When you're rinsing it, there is zinc phosphate on that panel.
Yeah.
Okay, all you're rinsing off when you start to spray that and you start to see that it kind of turns gray, that's a sludge, and that's the phosphate coming off of that, and you're rinsing off the excess phosphate. But there's phosphate on that steel. You're not rinsing bare metal. It's got a coating on it. It's got a phosphate coating on it.
I think another thing that trips people out is if you use cold water right out of the hose.
Don't use cold water.
Instead of lukewarm water, like PPG recommends.
Yeah, I know.
It looks like it's rusting.
Yeah, it turns brown.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, I spent all this time and money.
Avoid that and use warm water. Warm water won't turn brown.
I mean, hopefully you guys out there actually watch that video that we made on there, and maybe I'll have David throw a picture up. But the cool thing is what we're explaining. We actually talked to Jeff. Jeff helped us with the video, and it goes in line with everything PPG said to do, like each step and the coating. And I mean, you've told me this, 20+ years ago. is, you know, you buy the best primer in the world, the best sealer, the best base, the best clear, whatever you think that is. A rock flies through there, hits it, and hits your steel hood.
Yep.
And I don't care. I mean, you spend all that money on it, it's gone. And then it starts to rust and it grows, and then it pushes all your paint out, where that metal conversion coat is that sacrificial coat. And it may get white and powdery and chalky a little bit or whatever, but at least it's not going to grow and turn into like a big old mess. And I mean, how long have they been using that technology?
That stuff's been around since 1954.
So that's pretty proven, right?
Yeah. Well, here's a dirty little secret. PPG doesn't make that product.
Really?
Yeah. It's sold by PPG,
Yeah.
but it's made by a company called Chemfill. They're out of Canada.
Okay.
And if you read PPG's P sheet, they tell you to rinse it with cold water. That's a bad idea. But if you read Chemfill's P sheet on the same exact product, they're telling you to use warm water.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how we found out is we were having people complaining about
That rust color look.
that brown look.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like rust.
It
It
scary.
freaks everybody out. I
Yeah.
mean, who the hell wants to paint over that, right? So we got a hold of Chemfill and said, hey, what's the deal? And they said, are you rinsing with warm water or cold water? And I said, well, the P sheet for PPG says cold water. Don't do that. Rinse it with warm water.
Yeah.
When I did this truck, when I metal prepped it, it was a really hot day.
Yeah.
So everything was out in the hot sun. I did use cool water, but the metal was hot.
Yeah.
So that thing never turned brown on me.
Yeah.
Okay. But other stuff, if you do it inside and you use cold water, it's gonna turn brown.
So we didn't have, like, let's say a hot water tank in our shop.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, I don't have access to hot water. You can just take a bucket of cold water, fill it up, and let it sit for an hour or two, and it'll be room
Like I
temperature.
don't have hot water in my garage,
Yeah.
but I'll run up to the house and I'll grab
Yeah.
a whole bucket of hot water
Yeah.
and I'll use that to rinse.
Yeah,
if it's in the middle of winter.
We just took 1 5-gallon bucket, and it would do like a couple parts. It ain't going to do a whole car. But we'd only do a couple parts
You
at a
want
time.
to do small areas.
So it was cold going in the bucket, but it just sat in the shop for a couple hours because we knew we were going to do it that day.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to it, it was at least room temperature.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any browning issue. Because I'll admit, that freaked me out. The putting water on raw metal and the, oh my God, it's rusting. That kind of
It
freaks
should
me
have
out.
like a blue-gray look to it, almost like galvanized.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
should have a look like that, like a chalky look. And it's clean, man.
So I get my body filler done.
Yep.
All right. And let's talk about the truck, because I know that the truck, the 54 Chevy, was done different than the 65 Mustang convertible.
Yeah.
So you get your body work done, you got some cut throughs here and there. Are you okay with going right to the CRE or the VP 2050, or do you like putting the epoxy on the cut through before you go through your high fill primer of choice?
Well, when I did that truck, I used DP, and then I did all my body filler, and then I didn't use epoxy high build. I didn't have it at that time. I used urethane.
Yeah,
I used a high build urethane.
did PPG even have it back in those days?
They might have, but
Okay.
I didn't know that much about it. So I used urethane high build, and I gave it a lot of time because I'm not, urethanes tend to shrink and stuff unless you give them a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that thing probably sat for a year
In those
before
days,
I painted
we're
it.
talking K38, K36?
I
or-
used 3057,
Okay.
which is still, well, it's 3055
Okay.
is the gray. 3057 was the dark gray, and I wanted the dark gray, so that's what I used on that.
In your opinion, if you were to do that truck again and you had access to like a urethane or a high build epoxy or hybrid epoxy, however we want to call it,
Yeah.
or a polyester, which one of those three would you definitely not use?
I wouldn't use a urethane.
What's the because I know in collision, I mean, people are getting
They
like,
shrink.
All right.
They shrink. That's
Yeah.
bottom line. They shrink. Unless you give them a whole ton of time, they shrink.
Yeah. We're going to get guys. I've been painting for 40 years and I never had one shrink. I'll prime in the morning, painting it at night, and
Show me something you painted 10 years ago. I'll show you some shrinkage on it. You may not see it outside in the sun, but you bring it to my garage and I'll put my lights on it.
they'll
It
post
shrinks.
pictures online from like 20 feet away and they'll be like, look at this paint job.
That's great. Let's look at it under some real. Let's put that light in there.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, but I wanted to hear you say it because I know that If you took 100 shops, unfortunately, urethane's probably still king as the high build primer.
Yeah.
And especially in America. How about like the pros and cons of using like that hybrid, CRE versus poly? What's the upside and downside of polyester versus CRE? And then ultimately, if you had to do it again, which one would you choose and why?
Polyester's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just like sprayable Bondo, right?
Yeah.
It's personal preference.
Yeah.
It's got a good high build, and then the CRE or the high build epoxy, it builds every bit as good as polyester.
Yeah.
But with polyesters, if I'm going to spray that over the top of my body filler,
Yeah.
if I've got any little bare metal spots or anything showing through, I'm going to put an epoxy down first.
Why is that?
Because you got bare metal, and
Yeah.
I don't want to put polyester. It's like putting Bondo over bare metal. I don't like to do it. I'm just
Is it
not
because the
comfortable
poly
with
is
it.
porous and you're afraid like the water or whatever will
Well,
seep through?
it
or-
could be. It's
Okay.
just the adhesion isn't there.
Okay. So adhesion
It's like putting
and bare metal
same thing with urethane. And
Yeah.
urethane won't stick to bare metal. I mean, it'll stick, but it won't
protect it,
bite in. And yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
What about a DTM urethane? No, we're not gonna
no such thing.
Yeah. Well,
that's a
did
myth. I don't
you
care.
read the technical
Yeah,
data
I don't
sheet.
care
It
what they
says
say.
it says.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know more than the paint company,
Yeah,
huh?
I do.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do
Let's
a salt.
test it.
Let's
Yeah.
test it.
1,000 hours. Let's
yeah,
see it.
let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I've seen the results. It's
You
not
mean-
good.
You mean salesmen and companies will tell you whatever you want to hear to sell your product sometimes?
Salesmen will lie?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Gee. And the other thing that I have not tried yet that I kind of would like to try
Yeah.
is vinyl ester.
Yeah. The dirt
Okay, I've been
tech.
seeing a lot of that, and I think it sounds like a great product.
The cool thing about the vinyl ester is, and I know you don't need to do this, but I was always like if we had a fiberglass hood
Yeah.
or a Corvette,
Yeah.
we would put epoxy down, let it sit forever, scuff it up, and we would put our slick sand down.
Yeah.
And I know slick sand can go straight onto fiberglass, but I always felt more comfortable with that like adhesion of the epoxy. And vinyl ester is specifically designed for fiberglass, so you don't need it. And it's kind of like a polyester, but it's waterproof. So if you're wet sanding, you don't
Right.
worry about the pass through.
Right. Right.
And it's almost the same build. It's almost the same price. I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting product.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I have not had any experience with it at all, other than what I've read about it, and I like what I
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of like Corvette dudes that are big into it. Here's the only, I'm a poly guy, and I'd love to hear more on.
And poly's fine.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with it.
I love to hear the CRT and the VP 2050 argument. My problem is that it didn't get as much build, and you could say, well, do your body work better? And okay, maybe. And then also, it was tough. It's tougher to sand.
It is a little tougher to sand. I will admit that. Now, a couple things on that, and I'm talking the CRE or the
Yeah.
2050.
Yeah.
It's very easy to overapply it.
Yeah.
Okay, I use a SATA Jet 100 primer gun with a 1.4 to put that on.
Wow.
Okay, I might use a 1.6
Yeah.
if it's a really big job.
Yeah.
But if I'm spraying single panels, I use that 1.4. And I'm telling you, I mill my stuff.
Yeah.
I check it. I can easily get 12 mils out of 3 coats with a 1.4.
Wow. Wow. Because, I mean, most guys who are spraying urethane are using a 1.8.
Right.
Most guys that are spraying poly,
You're using a 2.0 or a 2.2.
yeah, I got a 2.5
Yeah.
in my Jet B.
Well, and that's fine for
Yeah.
a poly.
Yeah.
Okay. But I've had some people that want to use a poly gun
Yes.
to apply that
CRE.
CRE or
Yeah.
2050. I'm telling you, this stuff's never going to dry.
And it sands harder, too.
You're going to have, you mill it, you could easily have 25 or 30 mils if you put 3 coats on with a 1.8.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. You don't need, if you need that, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not going to cure right, which will make it super hard to sand.
The one, okay, I like poly because it fills more. It
Yeah.
used to be cheaper.
Well,
Well, that's not true
It
anymore.
can fill
Yeah.
more, but
And then, but here's the one thing that's always freaked me out about using poly. Well, one, I always put an epoxy down first.
Right.
So that if I wet sand and it passes through, it's never hitting raw steel. It's
Right.
going to hit that epoxy, and that epoxy's not dry, it's cured, blah, blah, blah. I'll even like epoxy over my mud and like crazy stuff like that because I want to make that waterproof barrier. But, and this is me overthinking it, but tell me if I'm crazy, is let's say that F4921, and I'm not looking at the P sheet, they recommend at least a half a mil. Well, if I've got, you know, 0.1 mil, but it does, or 0.2, but I haven't burned through, and then I don't put epoxy. If there's a burn through, I just put the same F4921 over it. But let's say that that's thin, and I put my poly over it. Maybe that's weak there, where if I use the CRE or the VP20, is it, even though it's not as good as metal protection as the F4921, it's better than poly. Am I overthinking it?
No, I mean, if I put my 4921 down,
Yeah.
I put body filler on top of it, I work my body filler. Now, when I work my body filler, I use 4921, but I use the black. Okay, so when I put my body filler over the top of it and I start sanding my body filler, it's very easy to see when you're getting thin on your body filler, right? You see that black.
Yeah.
You'll see a dark area. You know what that means?
Stop sanding.
Stop sanding. Yeah, stop sanding.
You familiar with oversanding syndrome?
Yes. Stop sanding. Run your hands over it. Check it. If it needs more body filler, put more body filler on at that time. Try to avoid going through the epoxy as much as possible. That way it saves you having to re-epoxy or anything like that. Granted, you're going to get edges and things that cut through. If I've got little cut throughs and things on the edges, would I reapply the 4921? Not necessarily. If it's just a small cut through, the 2050 or CRE is going to be
take care of that.
Fine, yeah.
Because I always did that. And actually, I stole something from you guys when we were in Mississippi. You know, let's say I've been body working this car for 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
And I've got, you know, a bunch of mud and primer and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I've got all these bare metal spots. Well, according to the P sheet, it says, you know, prime carbon steel immediately and a prime aluminum, you know, epoxy 8 hours, blah, blah, blah. And like I always made sure that I sanded it really good to put the epoxy. And like what you and Charlie Hutton were like, and Charlie said like, oh, what I do is if I'm leaving at 5 o'clock, at 4 or 4:30, I mix up a little bit of epoxy and I just dust it over my cut throughs. That way it's not sitting all night.
That's fine.
And I'm like,
perfect.
And I'm like, wow, that, you know, just I put it in a little minigun and just, and I'm like, dang, I actually like that. So my car's not rusting. And I'm actually mad that I didn't think of it before. You know,
because if you leave it in bare metal overnight,
you
don't know, moisture could hit it, humidity, whatever. I mean, we are in Michigan; it's pretty freaking humid here. You know, maybe if you're in Arizona or New Mexico, it might not be so bad. But I worry about humidity and stuff rusting.
So not to go backwards, but obviously, you know, you feel that epoxy is best for bare metal. Put the metal conversion coating on, the high build. Epoxy hybrid, whatever you want to call it, is a good high fill choice. Or polyester or the Duratec. Probably stay away from urethane.
Stay away. Urethanes are more for production work.
Why should we not use etch? What exactly don't you like about etch and restoration?
It's not as versatile as epoxy.
All right.
Okay. You could, but why?
Yeah.
You know, there's no need for it. It doesn't work well with epoxy. You can't put body filler over the top of it. You can't put top coat over the top of it. You can't put color over the top of it. I mean, if I've got parts and pieces, bumper brackets, engine components, things like that, I can spray a coat of epoxy on those and go right to top coat if I want to.
Yeah.
You know.
And you don't have to seal it?
You don't know. That's your sealer. The epoxy is your sealer.
Because a lot of people don't get this, and I hear you, but I want to make sure that everyone out there is on the same page. Is you don't want to spray base coat over etch, and correct me if I'm saying it wrong.
Right.
You don't want to put your body fillers over etch. And if you do use etch, you definitely want to prime over it or seal over it before you move to top coats.
Yes.
All right.
Etch has an acid in it. Okay. And the reason we use this stuff, whether it's etch or epoxy, there's a couple reasons. One is corrosion protection.
Yep.
Right. Those both have corrosion protection. Also adhesion. And what we're dealing with today is galvanized. Okay. And galvanized, the problem with galvanized is constantly trying to push everything off of it. So you need something to bite into that galvanized, and that's where the acid etch comes in, or the epoxy will bite into that galvanized and give you a good hold. Now, if I just sand a panel, let's say you got a brand new E-coated fender, right? And let's go into production body shop mode.
Yep, collision
right?
mode.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the best thing to do is if you can, what I do is if I can take Waterborne degreaser and a red Scotch-Brite pad and go over that brand new E-coated part, then I'm going to go right to a sealer, right? I'm going to go to a urethane sealer because it'll stick
to that E-coat.
Yeah. Right? But how often can you take a panel and not have something wrong with it?
Or with Ford parts, they got runs and
well,
boogers.
Yeah,
and
there's
stuff,
there's always something wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
So you got to. So when you sand it, of course, you're going to bust through the E-coat and you're going to have bare metal showing through.
Yeah.
Now, if you just take a urethane sealer and spray over the top of that, the problem you're going to run into is that sealer or urethane primer just sits on top of that galvanized. It doesn't really bite in that good, right? So if you're driving down the road with that vehicle and a rock hits it and it hits it in that specific spot where there was some bare metal, it's going to fall off real easy, right?
There's no chemical adhesion.
There's no adhesion there, right? So it's going to chip really easy. Now once it chips, once the elements get to that chip, it's going to start the galvanized is going to start doing its thing to protect the metal, right? And that's where you start to get that white chalky stuff coming off the galvanized. That technical term for that is saponification.
I like that word.
You like that word?
Yeah,
It sounds dirty, doesn't it?
It is dirty.
So that's what that is.
Yeah.
And that's going to start to creep underneath that paint and that sealer, and it's going to start to delaminate off of there.
What's awesome is when you like have some bugs and stuff and you're power washing a little bit too close and you get to that and then it starts pulling sheets and stuff off.
Now, by using an acid etch or an epoxy, that stops that process. It's not going to chip as easy for one thing, and if it does happen to chip, it's not going to spread once the elements hit it.
So
I'm talking a good 2-part etch here. I'm not talking that getting the rattle can,
So this is what blows my mind because there's no quality, there's no craftsmanship, there's no knowledge. It's what I call an echo chamber. The paint company or the guy told me this, and my urethane sealer or primer is DTM, and I can do this, and it's in writing, and it's like, dude, I mean, if you're gonna spend all that time on it, if you're giving lifetime warranties, if you care about craftsmanship, I don't really think it takes longer. And I mean, and why risk the comeback? I mean, because now what's a comeback cost now? Thousands of dollars sometimes?
If you're in a production shop, and granted, epoxies are slow. That's the drawback to epoxy. They're not good for production. That's why we use etch primer, right? So you can mix up the etch primer. Most etch primers have at least a 24-hour pot life on them. Right? That means you can leave it in the gun for 24 hours. It doesn't harden up. And what happens after 24 hours, you do need to get rid of it and remix it because after 24 hours, the acid that's in that goes away.
Okay.
And it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. You're not going to get the adhesion.
Because like most products, when they reach their pot life, let's say 24 hours for like DPX 171 or whatever, when you reach your pot life, it gets thicker. But with epoxies, you don't really, or epoxies, I'm sorry, with the etch you don't really notice it.
No, you don't.
So you're like, really, it's still good.
Yeah,
it's still
it doesn't
good.
really fully cross-link. But you're putting on such a thin layer that it's not going to affect what you put on top of it. So as a production painter working in a production shop, coming in the morning, I can mix up, 8 ounces of etch primer or 12 ounces of etch primer, leave it in a mix cup, whatever. It's real easy to grab that during the course of the day when you got bare metal. Just piss a little on there.
Yeah, mix in the morning and just
and
once
you're
a
good
day.
to go. Yeah.
And I mean, the cool thing is you're not even tearing down the etch gun. You're just running some thinner through it because it's never locking up on you.
There's where your Harbor Freight gun comes in handy. Use it for spraying etch primer.
We don't use Harbor. No, just kidding. David likes Harbor Freight.
Don't forget, if you want to support us, the best thing to do is go to refinishmedia.com and buy some of our merchandise. But if you buy one of our t-shirts, we're going to include a free old school hot rod magazine from the 50s, 60s, or 70s. Obviously why supplies last. But every week we add a new product to refinishmedia.com. And this week we're partnering with a company that's going to change everything. If you know me, I'm a diehard PPG guy. If you know David, you know he likes the BASF. We decided to pick a company that's high quality, but it's affordable to the do-it-yourselfers. So check out this Alpha paint line that we have available at refinishmedia.com.
All right. I know it's been gone forever, but this is just me wanting to know. Is back in the day they had the DPX 170
Yep.
and the DPX 171,
Yep.
and then I liked the DPX 170 because it had the Chromate.
Yep.
And it was like a better primer and it was better for the car. They were like both 1-to-1 mix. I think they were both 24 hours. They took DPX 172 and 173 catalyst. The color was a little bit different, but then all of a sudden DPX 170 just went away. And I don't even think DPX 171 is a thing.
No,
They've
they've gone to the SX. I think it's
1071.
Yeah,
I
1070.
just call it the one choice epoxy.
Which is good stuff, but it doesn't have chrome. See, Chromate was really good for corrosion protection. Best thing you could get for corrosion protection. That was the thing that they took out of the old DP was the Chromate. DPLF doesn't have Chromate in it, but Chromate was really bad for environment. The EPA cracked down on it pretty hard.
So the old school etch guys who were like, oh, I've used etch back in the day and it was good. Is it possible that the etch that was good back in the day was the Chromate, and then the stuff that we have now is not as
like
good?
the 170 had Chromate. 17 what was it? 1790 what? Yeah, 1791, I think.
I don't know how you remember all these numbers.
Yeah, I don't either. But
I only remember.
that had Chromate. It was real transparent.
At 50, I have a hard enough time remembering the numbers of the products I use, let alone like the whole product sheet.
Rarely do I use etch primer. If I'm doing a quick collision repair, then yeah, I use etch.
Why
primer.
does 1K etch suck? Let's just say for argument's sake,
it's lacquer.
2K.
It's lacquer.
If-
All right,
if-
so when you buy your etch primer, right?
Yeah.
How do you buy it? You buy the primer and the catalyst.
I do.
How does the catalyst come packaged?
Yeah, in a plastic can.
Why is that?
So it doesn't eat away at the can?
Yes, it's acid and it will eat a metal can.
Yeah.
Okay, how does your etch primer in a rattle can come?
Metal can.
In a metal can. Have you had it for 5 years, 10 years? Does it eat it? No, there's no freaking acid in there. That stuff's not doing anything for you. It's junk. If you're using it on something more than like a door jamb or a core support, you're a freaking hack.
I agree.
It's no good. It's junk.
The industry now, which blows my mind, is everyone's got a can of etch and it just chills in their paint booth. And right before they seal, they just.
Why don't you just keep a gun with some 2K etch in your booth?
Because it takes 3 minutes longer. And it might cost you
$30
more a month.
I don't know. Not really.
I don't even.
I mean, how much etch do you spray? Jesus, a quart would last you a year. You know.
What blows my mind though is like you can buy an F-150 and spend $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
And I mean, like we live in Michigan and we dump all this salt on the roads, and I mean OEM, we can't even get cars the last 10 years. And you're gonna gamble it all on some rattle can etch?
You're using a $6 can of rattle can on a $100,000 truck. You deserve an beating.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. That's gonna shake some people up though.
Don't care.
Don't
care.
Everything is fast food. Wendy's, get it done, knock it out, not my problem. And I don't know. I mean, I'm like, a job worth doing is a job worth doing right. I'm gonna fix your car the way I'm gonna fix mine, or I'm not gonna do it. And that's all the customer wanted. And I'm like, I don't let the customer dictate what products I'm going to use and how I'm going to do it because they're not the expert.
I don't think a rattle can's that cheap anymore, is it?
$20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I don't think it's cheaper. Oh, but I don't have to mix it. It's so hard, 1-to-1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Takes me 2 minutes to mix it.
I mean, you could eyeball it. No.
Well,
you could.
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that hard.
Tell me if I'm crazy. Like, if I was doing a urethane job, we're going to leave waterborne and UV out. If I was doing a urethane job in a collision shop or even a car like this, and I was in final prime, maybe that's 1 prime, 2 primes, whatever, I'd probably start with like a 220, 240 with a stick. Not with polyester, though. I'm starting with, I hate to say it, if the poly's dry, I'm starting with 80. Sometimes I go 100.
100 is probably the standard that
80 rips it.
Yeah, 80 cuts it. It might be a little coarse on that, but 100's okay.
Yeah.
And then guide coat it and maybe hit it with 150,
We
180.
go 150. What are you doing with the CRE and stuff? Are you starting with 100,
You can
120?
start with 100, yeah,
What
sure.
would you do though?
100.
100? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's hack. We if you got to start with 100, I block my primer with 220, 240. What's the difference? Why is urethane so much different than these polyester?
The coarser you start, the straighter it's going to be.
Less paper too.
It's just like, when we talk about wet sand and clear, and they start with 600, and everybody's 600, yeah,
you
600.
learned how to lay it out of the gun right. You would.
It's still going to have that little bit of ripple.
Not my jobs. Let me show you a black and white picture from 50 feet away that a car I painted. Dude, I know, and you can't, and it's like, I feel sorry for him because it's like, dude, we've all been there, and like, we're trying to show you like a better way, and they don't want it, but whatever. But why are the poly guys and the hybrid epoxy guys, why are they starting with that rougher grit than, let's say, the urethane guys? Is one of them harder or softer than the other?
Urethane sand a lot easier.
Like butter.
Yeah, they sand a lot quicker. You'll go through, and urethanes aren't going to build as heavy as like a polyester or a epoxy, high build epoxy.
Probably like half, roughly, mill wise.
Probably, yeah. And if you're putting urethane on that wet, it's not ever going to cure properly. That's the problem with urethane.
Yeah.
You can't. I can't build urethane 12 mils and expect it to dry properly or to cure properly. Whereas a high build epoxy or a polyester, I can easily get 12 mils out of that, and that's reasonable. And I have plenty to block with. They do specifically state on the P sheet of the epoxy that after sanding, they don't want it to exceed 8 mils because it could
fail.
It could fail. Yeah. I mean, epoxies tend to get brittle and they can, crack and do some weird stuff.
So on the truck back in the day,
Yep.
you used the urethane.
Yep.
But then when you did the 65 Mustang convertible, you used
That was all
the
epoxy.
hybrid.
Yeah.
That was a CRE or VP 2050 or
2050.
All right.
Yeah, that's basically the
Is there
same thing.
is there a huge difference? There is a price difference. Is there a huge difference? Some people say they're the same. Other people say they're similar. What would you say?
Chemically, they're the same. And I don't know for sure, they may have put a little different solvent in the 2050 to make it more compatible with automotive style solvents, where CRE, they're telling you to cut it with stuff like xylene, things like that.
So they're probably similar, but not exactly the same.
I think they're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty close.
Because I think it's like $100 or more per kit different.
PPG is real good at making labels.
Amen.
Yeah.
Shopline Omni?
Yeah, Shopline Omnis. Those are the same. I promise you that.
Yeah. To bring up the poly again and again, I'm pro poly, but the cool thing is you don't have to do a final prime with urethane or seal with urethane, because I'm not going to put base coat over poly.
No.
But if you did a urethane, I guess, or if you did a high build epoxy,
you can
could.
base over epoxy.
Okay.
I typically don't, but you can.
But I mean, I guess that is a plus if you're trying to figure out which high build primer you want to run with.
Yeah.
So
a lot of it is going to be personal preference, really.
But let's say you today on the Mustang, or if you could go back with this one, you're in your CRE or your VP 2050, and what grit are you going to get it in? What's your final grit that you want to start doing top coats over?
Well, if I'm going to put base coat over the top of it?
Seal or base coat or whatever you do. Like if you're going to relive the car and you're done with primer.
Well, normally what I did on the Mustang was I put 3 or 4 coats of 2050 down.
Okay.
And I blocked all that.
What was your blocking steps? What'd you start with and finish with?
I think I started with 100.
Okay.
And then I went to 180.
Okay.
And then I went to 220.
Okay.
And if I busted through anywhere, I would reprime that area and hit it again. But the final prime that I used sealer. And
so you're using sealer, but not as a sealer.
Not as a sealer. I'm using it as a final prime.
Okay.
So what I used was not the DAS. I used the ECS. I used the ECS 27.
Okay.
Which is the dark gray that they use typically for Enviro base.
Yep.
But I like that sealer because when it dries, it sands very easy.
Okay.
The reason I use sealer instead of a urethane primer is because sealers have a higher resin content, and primers have a higher talc content. Talc is what makes it sand easier, but talc is like a powder. It's a pigment that they use. It also can make it shrink, and when you put something on top of it, like a urethane base coat or something like that, it tends to pull in the solvents, right?
Okay.
So that it can give you shrinkage later on down the road. Whereas a sealer has higher resin content, so it meshes better and it seals out better, and it makes a better final prime. So
Okay.
I put, I think, 2 to 3 coats of the ECS 27 down, and I let it sit overnight or 2 days, and then I final sanded with that.
All right, so let me back up just so we're on the same page. You're doing dry, right? You're going like 80, 180, 220, 240.
Yeah, I mean,
Wet or dry?
I probably finished the epoxy with 320
Okay.
and then went to my sealer.
Wet or dry 320 or doesn't matter?
I dry sand.
Okay.
The only time I wet sand is clear.
Okay, so you're dry 320, you come in and you put 3 coats of your sealer on.
Yep.
What tip size are you using for that?
1.4.
1.4?
Yeah,
Okay.
I use a 1.4.
Putting 2-3 coats on, you're waiting a day or 2 or 3 or
Yeah,
whatever.
Probably 2 days.
Are you guide coating it or are you just going right to a block?
Well, with it being the dark,
yeah. It's got like a built-in
it
guide
kind of
coat.
has its own guide coat going. If I was going to use like the ECS 25, which is a light gray, yeah, I'd have to guide coat it.
And what grit are you starting with? You're obviously going dry by hand. What grit are you starting with?
I start with 400,
Okay.
just to cut it, and then I finish sand with usually 6 or 8,
6 or
depending
8.
on the color.
Okay.
So if it's a solid color or a dark metallic, I'll finish with 600.
Okay.
If it's a finer metallic, like a silver or something like that, then I'll finish with 800.
Or like a candy or a pearl, you go 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
like the Mustang was dark blue, so I finished that with 600.
all right. So you're like 6 or 800. What if you get like a little sissy cut through or whatever? You gonna spot that in with
Yeah.
the same sealer?
Yeah.
Okay. So now
Yeah, that
you're
stuff this dries fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can hit it, and then an hour later, you can lightly
They'll give it a
sand
little
it a little,
scuff.
yeah, and then go right to color. Yeah.
so obviously you're not sealing again, right?
Nope.
You're going right to base coat?
No, sealer. I don't like to do the wet on wet for production. Yeah, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because an OE paint job never looks completely flat. Okay,
My
They
Jeep
al-
Wrangler did.
They
That's
always
sarcasm.
they always have a little bit of a ripple to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so sealing them and then going to base and clear, that's fine. I guarantee you will never lay sealer out completely flat. It might look flat,
Yeah.
but go ahead and start sanding on it. There's always going to be a little bit of texture in there. Okay, so when you're looking for a finish like this, you want to start it out as flat as you can possibly start it. So that's why you want to go to a sanded surface. Okay, so I sand that sealer flat with 800 grit or 600 grit, whatever it is, and then I go right to base coat.
If I was using polyester, I could do the same thing, right? The same trick that you just talked about with the sealer, and
Yeah.
that kind of like locks it in. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
Have to, I don't have to use my urethane
Put
primer.
put a urethane sealer down, give it a day or two, and sand it flat. You'll never lay a sealer down flat. You'll always have a little bit of texture. Why start that finish off with texture?
So when you're
trying to get it flat,
Are these solvent, water? What are these? The Mustang, just the Mustang and the 54 Chevy.
it's all solvent.
Solvent.
Yeah, it's
so
all
it's
DBC.
DBC
Yeah.
now NXT or
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
and
Yeah.
well, yeah.
So how many coats is it taking to cover these bad boys? And are you sanding your coats or only if necessary?
No, I wouldn't sand my base unless I had to, unless
Okay.
there was a big chunk of something. Or
Cool thing is by not using sealer like we do in collision shops, you don't have to because we were always
well,
sanding
that's
our
the other
base.
thing too, is it dries a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah.
Your base coat flashes way faster. So if you're doing stuff like stripes or two tones or anything like that, you don't get any of the tape tracking or anything that you get sometimes because sealer holds solvent.
I never minded sealing and sanding my base.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't mind it because paint and materials were expensive. They've always been expensive, but like now, there's nothing worse. I priced out that because that's why I was going to paint my Camaro because my dad likes red. My price, they wanted like $800-900 a quart. So if you do the math, it's just shy of $4,000 a gallon. So let's say you do it the way that we do it, where you seal it, then you sand your base. There's nothing crazier than like putting on $1,000 of the base and sanding all 500 and then put it on and then sand it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't typically put more than 4 coats of base down.
Yeah.
You know, and usually, I mean, I try to put the right color undercoat
Yeah.
down so that I don't have to put a ton of base on. But usually on a custom job, usually 4 coats is good. If you're putting more than that, you're probably over applying.
What tip size are you using? You a 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 guy in this?
1, 2, or 1, 3.
1, 2,
Depends
1,
on
3?
the color.
Like
yeah.
the smaller tip size?
Yeah, I like
on it?
smaller tips.
And
Better
then-
metallic control.
Are you thinking like coverage plus 1? Is that your philosophy? Get
Yeah.
a coverage check of the light, put 1 more,
Yep.
and then you're going to your clear?
Yep.
And then how many coats of clear are you putting on, and what clear was used on, let's say, the truck versus the Mustang?
Both of them are the same.
Both same.
Yeah, 8152.
Okay, which is now
Which
the
is
50-50.
now 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah, DC 50-50.
Are they exactly the same or similar?
If you look at the SDS sheets, they're exactly the same.
Okay. And how many coats are you putting on?
Well,
Were they different? The truck versus the
truck.
Mustang?
The truck, I actually flow coated it.
Okay. How many did you put on
And
the
the
first
reason
time?
I flow coated it was because when I did the bed, I wanted to lay the bed flat.
Yeah.
So I sanded it. You know
Yeah.
what I think I put 3 coats of clear down. I let it sit for a couple days. I sanded it all flat with 600 grit.
Okay.
And then I re-cleared it again, I think, with 2 more coats.
Did you clear over 6 or you go 6,
I
8?
cleared
or
over 6.
Cleared over 6?
Yeah,
Okay.
I cleared over 6. Cleaned it real good. You got to clean it with Waterborne degreaser, solvent-borne degreaser, and then I re-cleared it.
Okay.
And it laid out very flat.
This-
And then when I sanded that, I used 1,000, 15, 3,000.
Okay. And when
And-
you cleared it, what tip size did you
1.2.
use? So
I use a SATA 3000 1.2 or
RP.
RP. Yeah, RP.
Okay.
That's my clear gun.
What-
To this day, that's my.
Why do
same
you like the
clear gun.
1.2 versus, let's say, a 1.3 or 4?
Because it gives you a smaller droplet, and by having a smaller droplet, it lays flatter.
Okay.
Okay, when you start out with a bigger droplet like a 1.4, it's not going to lay as flat. You're using a very high solid clear, right? So the high solid clear doesn't have as much solvent in it as, say, a lower solid clear like, say, DC 2000 or some shitty Shopline clear or something like that. Those are thin, right? So they
JC 620?
yeah. So you got to use a bigger tip with those because a lot of it's going to evaporate away. But
Yeah.
not as much of a high solid is going to evaporate away. So if you start it out smaller, it's going to lay flatter. So
Yeah.
that's how I get the clear to lay flatter.
The second round of clear, how many did you put? How many coats? 2. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, people are they poo-poo that
Yeah,
whole process because
yeah.
if you sand through that first layer and go to the second layer, you're going to see it. You know what? I dare you to try to find something on that. I've never seen it happen. Now,
Never seen the Ring of Death?
never seen the ring of death. No, on anything. And I'll tell you, when I sent that truck to the upholsterer, he put a scratch in the door, which
What's he, a mechanic?
seriously pissed me off, right? And I sanded it out and got it out without seeing any ring of death.
Yeah.
So, and I know I went through
The second
yeah, I
round?
know I did. I know for a fact I did. I had to.
If you were to build this truck again tomorrow, start over, what clear would you use?
I'd use 50-50.
50-50?
Yeah. Now, I probably wouldn't flow coat it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've gotten away from the flow coat.
Yeah.
It works. If I'm doing graphics or stripes or something like that, yeah, I'd do the flow coat.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, where you sand it and re-clear it. I do the re-clear. The
Why-
Mustang, when I did the Mustang, I think I put 5 coats clear down.
Why not 2021? That's an old school favorite.
It's good clear.
I
I don't like it as much as 50-50.
What do you feel?
It's
What do you
not
like
as
about
clear.
It?
Go
It's
ahead.
Not as clear.
If you have both those clears, take a mix cup, take a clear mix cup, and fill them up. One with 2021, the other one with 50-50.
52/50.
I guarantee you 2021's got a yellower look to it.
All right.
It's not as clear.
What about like durability, sprayability? I know they're similar,
They're
but
both good clears.
but
There's nothing wrong with either one of them.
They're both probably arguably some of the greatest clears in the world. But if you were going to do a death match between 50-50 and 50 in 2021, do you think one is more durable than the other, or no?
Nah, they're about the same.
Think one is easier to spray or
Nah.
sand or buff or
Nah.
anything? So
Nah, they're the
really
same.
so really it just comes
They're the
down
same.
to
I like the clear. I think the 50-50 has a crisper look to
Okay.
it. You know, I like the clarity of it.
if I was on a budget and 50-50 was $1,000 a kit and I know some place to get 2021 for 500, what would you buy? Would you buy the 2021 for 500, or would you spend the extra money and buy 50/50? If it was you, in your money.
There's nothing wrong with 2021.
Yeah.
If it was that much of a difference, I'd probably buy the 2021.
So one of the things, and you've explained this before, but this, and I think they actually added some, which even makes it crazier. Oh, let me back up. We'll talk about the 5700 in a minute, because I know that's another clear best in the world. But since we're talking about 2021, is back in the day, you could use DCX 8, 9, or 61.
That's in the 2021.
And I think
so. You got 2021, 2002, 2042, which I don't
2042.
think they make anymore. All those you could use DCX 8, DCX 9, or DCX 61. Most people went to the DCX 61,
okay,
and that was the universal.
the garden variety hardener.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the advantages of the 8 and 9? And if you were going to use 2021, which one would you use and why?
Well,
when would I use the 8, 9, and 61?
If I'm spraying something at home in the garage and I'm using either 2021 or Concept single stage,
Yep.
I use DCX 8.
Okay. Why 8 over 61?
It's a faster cure.
Okay.
It cures faster and it gives me better mar resistance. Okay, 61 is absolutely horrible for mar resistance. Like, I'm talking like if you got the car and it's dusty and you put a California duster, or you take a microfiber towel or something like that over top of it, and on a black car you'll see scratches.
Even 30 days later?
Yeah, yeah. 61 is just soft.
So if you want a stronger, better paint job, you would go 8 over 61.
8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
When would 9 come into play?
9 would be more for like if you're painting in a downdraft booth.
Okay.
And you want that a little bit extra high gloss.
Okay.
Because you'll get a little better gloss with 9 than you will with 61, and you'll certainly get a better gloss in 8. The 8, you won't get near the gloss that you will with 61 or 9. But if you're going to sand and polish, who gives
Okay.
You know what I mean? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
But still, if you're going to sand and polish, you would still rather stick to that 8 or 9 versus the 61 because the longevity,
Yes,
the hardness.
because the hardness.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, it does make it a little tougher to rub versus
Yeah.
61. But if you're finishing your clear properly with, doing the steps and finishing with 3,000 or 5,000, you shouldn't have any problem rubbing the scratches out of that.
Yeah. So 2021, you don't use it, it sounds like here, but there's one place you use it, or you would use it again. Where would that be?
If I'm using single stage.
Okay. So I don't get it. Single stage doesn't need clear.
Nope.
So, I'm assuming we're talking about DCC
Well, it's kind of a
concept.
moot point because they don't make it anymore.
Don't they make one color?
They make black.
All right. Well, what other color is there?
All right.
I'm a black car guy. Let's say I wanted to paint my car single stage, DCC black. Is it 9,300, 9,000, 9,700? Because that's what I always hated is black in DBC or NXT was 9,700. But then they had, 9,000 and 9,300? Like one was a brown? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, they have a different look to them.
Okay.
In concept, 9,300 is
the black.
blackest. Yeah.
Then what's the 9,000?
9,000 is
black?
not. Yeah, it's kind of.
And it's gone
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
there might be cans floating
yeah.
around like on people's shelf, but the 9,000 was the brown black, like the Ford, right?
Yeah.
And then the Harley black or Vivid black or GM black was the 9,300.
Yeah.
I always thought that was weird. Like, why wasn't it just all 97?
Yeah, if you were to take a new car that's black and put concept single stage on it,
Yeah.
you would see it. It would like, oh, it's a mile off.
So I like black cars. I mean,
Yeah.
and I know there's a lot of people out there who like black cars. I personally think a black car is the sexiest, prettiest thing ever, especially when they're clean. I don't like taking care of them.
Yeah.
My problem with it is when we use DCC back when we were using the 61, is like you said, it would stay soft.
Scratch is easy.
And then when you talk to us about going to DCX 8 and 9, it solved that problem.
That solves the problem. Yes.
But what if I want to clear it? I mean, there's a lot of guys that would come in, they would paint the car DCC, they would sand it out, and then they would clear it.
Bad idea.
Okay. Why is it a bad idea before we talk about the way to do it?
Well, if you sand that black and if you don't get that sanded surface perfectly clean,
Yeah.
and you put clear over top of it, you're gonna see it,
Yeah,
like a
trap all that.
handprint
Yeah.
or something. You'll see it.
Yeah.
And ask me how I know this. I
Yeah.
had to repaint a car once because of that. I'll never
we
do
based
that
the
again.
car over because of that. Like said, to hell with the single stage.
Yeah.
We abandoned it.
Well, the right way to do it is to take and put 2 coats of straight single stage down,
Okay.
and then mix your 2021 clear, which is 4 to 1 to 1, and mix your black single stage, which is 4 to 1 to 2, 2 parts reducer. Mix them in separate containers, and then mix those 2 together.
Okay, so I put 2-3 coats down, hopefully 2 of the straight DCC, the way the P sheet says to do it. And then I take my 2021. Can I use the 50/50 clear?
No.
Can I? So it has to be the 2021
It
or
has to
something in
use
the old concept line.
common hardeners.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if my philosophy on my DCC is DCX 6, 8, or 9, I want to have the same philosophy on my 2021 clear. Is that correct? Like I don't want to
Yeah.
use
So if I'm using DCX 9 in my clear, I'm going to use it in my
single stage.
color too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I get my 2 coats of single stage down, and then I get my clear, and I do this 50/50 concoction.
Yep.
Do I just do 1 coat?
No, I usually do 3.
3 coats.
Yeah.
No straight clear. Every coat.
No, I don't
is-
use any straight clear.
Okay. So the first 2 coats are going to be pure DCC single stage, and the last 3 are going to be that 50/50 concoction.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of dudes that
You're using the single stage initially for coverage,
okay.
because you won't get as good a coverage if you go straight through with clear and color mix. You know,
What-
I have seen where you can kind of increase the amount of clear you put in.
Yeah. But if you were doing it, how would
Yeah.
you do it? You
That's-
would do it that way.
Yeah, I would do it that way.
No straight clear in
So-
every coat.
Some of the issues that I've seen in the past on some colors, they will layer. You know what I mean? Like you got a red,
Yeah.
right? And you go to put 3-4 coats down, you go to sand and rub it. Sometimes the
it's like
coats
lighter.
they'll layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see them.
Yeah.
By adding clear to it, it stops that. It disperses the color better when
Yeah.
you add the clear to it. Plus, I think it makes it a little easier to buff.
Okay.
You know, it gives you a better buff. I don't know if it changes the mar resistance. It probably doesn't, because if you use the right hardener, you don't have to worry about mar resistance.
In your opinion, all right, because there's different opinions out there, but some of people's opinions are better than others. If I came in with a car that was Waterborne black with the best clear money you can buy, wet sand and wheel perfect, then I came in with a solvent car that was base coat, clear coat, wet sand and wheel perfect, then I rolled in with that single stage car that was wet sand and wheel perfect, and I parked them all next to each other.
Night and day.
Which one would be the prettiest in depth of image? and all
Single
that?
stage.
Would it be night and day?
I mean,
yeah.
Solvent base coat is close.
Yeah.
But there is a difference. If
Yeah.
you have the 2 cars next to each other, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Waterborne black is mud.
It's like brown.
Yeah.
It's
It's
nasty.
horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I mean, being a black car guy, I've always told people this, and they look at me like I'm crazy, and they think that I'm hating on Waterborne. I like Waterborne for candies and metallics.
Oh,
and
it
stuff
matches
like that.
OE black.
Yeah.
Waterborne
Yeah.
black matches OE black great, but
Yeah.
it is not a black black. It's really muddy.
I'm never using Waterborne on a black car,
Yeah.
and I don't mind solvent black cars. They're
Yeah.
okay, but man, parking it next to a single stage car
It's
with
a
or without
there's
clear,
a difference. There's a difference.
it's just that depth of image, man. It just
Yeah.
looks. I mean, if they were 50 feet away and we looked at this car and this car, the average person probably wouldn't tell.
You'll see it more in the sun,
Yeah,
than you will in the shade. You won't see it much in the shade, but
Yeah.
if it's out on a sunny day, whew,
but if they're
big
if
difference.
they're parked next to each other, because didn't you have a black vet?
I had
and
a
then
black
Kenny
60
had a
vet.
black vet.
Yeah, and they were all both single stage.
Yeah, but you never guys parked them next to each other.
Well, they were both single stage.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought-
they
I
were
thought
both the
one was-
same. No, they were both the same.
Okay. All right. Single stage though. You did I mean, because it's old technology. I mean, this is the collision guys. Oh, I think Ford stopped in 1994 on their F-250 and large line. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah, some of the imports, like I think Porsche used single stage for a long time. They might still in some cases. I don't know.
I get that single stage, if we're talking collision, is old school, it's outdated, blah, blah, blah. What about painting single stage pearls and metallics? Are you a fan of that?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, why not?
It doesn't lay out right. Single stage looks like crap. I mean, the old, when I started painting, it was like 1978,
Yeah.
right?
78.
Yeah, so that was everything was lacquered enamel. So I mean, I can lay out a single stage enamel job, metallic, really nice.
Yeah.
You just can't rub them.
Yeah.
You know, it's what you see is what you get. That's it. And same thing with single stage metallic. You're not rubbing it, you'll layer it. You know, you can't.
Didn't PPG forever
If you're going to clear over it, why the hell wouldn't you just go base clear? You know,
Wasn't there a big deal about non-solids with the DCC too? Like they'd give you a lifetime guarantee if it was a solid.
Yes.
But if it was a non-solid, they're like, we're not giving you a lifetime guarantee.
right? They won't.
What's changing? Like the breakdown.
Well, because the UV will burn that metallic
Okay.
flake out.
So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but unless I'm doing like some kind of weird restoration where that's what it had on it, like from factory or whatever, the only way you would go single stage if it was a solid
color. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't go single stage metallic.
We've always been the same way. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. And
Single stage metallics for like 18 wheelers.
yeah. Yeah. So really, like, what are you thinking? Black, red, and white, assuming that they had those available in DCC?
Black,
Yellow?
red, white, yellow, blue, green.
Blues even?
Yeah,
like that?
British racing green. I mean, any solid color I would do in single stage if I could get it.
So if you could take a magic wand and fix one dumb thing PPG has done since you've retired, is DCC going to be on that list?
DCC would be at the very top of the list.
very top?
Very top of the list. Yes.
What was their philosophy on that? This is just money? Why did they kill it?
I just don't think they they look at numbers.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are bean counters. They don't know jack paint. They
Yeah.
really don't. The
Yeah.
people in charge of that stuff. They're looking at numbers. They look at what they've sold through the year and, you know, who's buying single stage.
Yeah.
Mainly it's just restoration shops.
Yeah.
Well, how much paint does
How
a
many
restoration
cars?
shop? I mean, what do they paint? 4 or 5 cars a year, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, so they're not going to use that much, really.
Yeah. Versus
So,
MSOs are doing 50 plus.
and
a
the
week.
guys that do the bean counting, they go, well, we've got this Del Fleet Essential. That's pretty good single stage, and it is, but it isn't concept.
Yeah. Is
you
it
know.
way cheaper?
It's quite a bit. In fact, I would say that Del Fleet Essential single stage is probably less money than Shopline.
Wow.
Or Omni.
For now.
And it's 10 times the product that Shopline or Omni
Yeah,
is.
yeah. It's funny because when DCC got cut, everybody flipped out. And I admit it, it pissed me off too.
Yeah,
I'm not
oh,
going to
yeah.
lie. But when I heard that DCC 9300, they were going to keep that around, hopefully forever.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, well, then who cares? Because I'm not painting white or red single stages. Every car and motorcycle I own is black. It's black and it's black. So, you know, it still freaks me out.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, no, it still freaks me out. But I mean, if they would have took black away, I think I would have like changed companies or, you know, drove to Strongsville and picketed outside by myself or something.
Red is awesome. It's that GTX. I had it on a Rama, the pink one. That's all single stage.
Really,
Yeah.
DCC?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
was
a
all
gorgeous car.
DCC.
That's a gorgeous car. The funny thing about that car is with your Mustang and the Chevy truck, you stripped them to bare metal and started over. Is your philosophy there like it's always best to start with bare metal because you don't know what's underneath it?
Yeah, if you don't know what's underneath it, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, because there could be rust or an old paint job
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
With the GTX, though, it was a little bit different situation.
Yeah, it had been painted. It was stripped and painted years ago.
Yep.
I know who did it. I know what was used on it, and I knew it was solid.
Yeah,
So we didn't. All I did was I kind of blocked what was there. In
Yeah.
fact, the car wasn't even pink; it was purple.
yeah,
And I blocked that flat and primed where I needed to prime it.
yeah,
But I didn't strip that car.
yeah.
And
So I mean,
which is pretty rare. Usually I
Yeah.
strip a car, but I knew what was under it, so I wasn't
Yeah.
worried about it.
we had a Jaguar years ago that we were kind of in that situation that I knew the dude who built it. He was super high end. The car was restored, and it just got hit in the front end. So the insurance company paid to fix the bonnet and stuff, and we were painting half the car anyway. And the dude's like, "Hey, can I just pay you the difference to paint it all over again?" It was a solid restoration, but it was, I don't know, 10 years old or whatever. So we kind of were, we were kind of okay with it too. But you're right, it's rare that it comes across. So with that one, did you do the clear coat deal on top of it, or is it just straight DCC?
mix the color and clear.
Okay.
Yeah, that's got 5 coats.
And that's the
Two straight color and then 3 with clear.
with the 2021.
2021, yeah.
And then what hardener?
That one would have been 9 because
Okay.
I did it in the booth.
Okay. All right. So 8 if you're painting on the floor, 9 in the booth, and 61.
Yeah, eight if you need a quick cure.
Okay.
You know, if you need it to dry quicker.
And then 61 if you're a big chicken, you like soft clear. And
61
you
is
know.
I stay away from 61. Yeah.
Hey guys, hopefully you're enjoying this interview, and I know you guys have been asking for it for a long time, but this is probably going to be the last podcast that Refinish Media does. We opened up a brand new channel called Automotive Legends. It's on all your major social media sites, your YouTubes, your TikToks, your Facebooks, your Instagram, your X. So if you guys are watching this and you're enjoying it, make sure you go and subscribe, because we're going to continue to do these types of podcasts, but we're going to upload it to our new channel. And they're not just going to be paint and body related. We're going to actually go out and talk to any and everybody who's worthwhile in the world of automotive. So make sure you check out Automotive Legends on your favorite social media platform. Now back to the podcast. Here we go. We're back from break. I got my notes in front of me, but before we get into kind of part 2, what do you guys want to know? I mean, I know some of this stuff is nerd and the average person may think that we're going too deep, but there is a lot of you out there that really enjoy getting to the nitty gritty and down to dirty and stuff. I know that I do. You know, maybe we could talk Jeff to coming back a 4th time. If you haven't seen it, this is actually our 3rd time sitting down with Jeff. We have 2 other full-length videos on YouTube, and you can go and watch those, because I don't know when we're going to get them back. But I've got a bunch of questions that people wanted me to ask, be it friends or through the internet or whatever. So I'm going to kind of go through some of these. Is the original DP epoxy, before the DPLF and before the DPLV, can you give us a little backstory about like what that was designed for, what made it so good versus the other ones, what you liked about it? Because like people still say, well, I use DP. And I'm like, no, you're not. You don't use DP. It's been gone for 20 plus years.
Well, it didn't meet the VOC requirements. Plus, it had Chromate, which they were trying to scale back on Chromate.
So when they said DPLF, it was DPLF lead free, but there was no lead.
Nah,
they took the
they
Chromate.
never had lead. And
Yeah.
they couldn't call it CR because I think BASF or somebody had already had that
Okay.
patented.
Yeah.
You know, they had it copyrighted.
Yeah.
So they
said
couldn't use it. So
lead
they
free.
said LF.
Yeah,
you know, they
lead
had to
free.
come up with something. You'd be amazed at how they come up with names for some of this stuff.
In your opinion, if that stuff was still available, is that one of, if not the best bare metal primers ever? Or do you like something different?
You know, it came out, I believe, in the early 70s.
Okay.
Okay, and it was originally designed as a fleet type of thing. So whereas you had a a bulldozer or some heavy piece of equipment that they would want to refinish, and they'd send it to the sandblaster and they'd blast it, and then they'd want to just put some sort of primer. They put epoxy primer, which was DP, and then they'd top coat it with whatever they had for fleet at the time, which I think was urethane. Yeah, it was called urethane. Pretty good stuff. Kind of like an Emron sort of thing. So that's where DP came from. So back then in the late 70s, early 80s, we were still using a lot of enamels and lacquers, and the primers we only had lacquer primer, right? So you'd have the gun with the lacquer primer, you'd mix it up, you'd leave it in there all day, you'd never have to clean it out, right?
Yeah.
It was lacquer primer, and the sealers they used was lacquer sealers. All that stuff shrinks and looks like hell after a while, right?
Yeah.
So they were looking for a better system. So with DP being available, it was a catalyzed system. So at the time, it was pretty good stuff because you could sand a fender down, because back then they weren't using E-coat.
Yeah.
So when you got a new fender, it had some crappy shipping primer on it that they would basically dip the fenders. I worked at a Chrysler dealer back in the 70s where they warranted all those, remember the Volare and the Aspen?
Yeah.
The fenders literally rotted off those cars. I could take those cars and take the fender and take it off without removing a bolt. That's how rotted those things were.
Yeah.
That's why I hate those cars to this day, right? So whenever I see one, I just go, oh God. And you know, people think they're cool, you know, but they don't know the history of them like I do. those cars were friggin' junk, man. They were bad, but the parts department had stacks of these fenders, and that was when I started out as a helper. That was my job. I'd take the fenders, I'd sand all that crappy primer because it'd be all full of runs and everything, and you'd have to sand it off. And
besides the rust,
so you'd lay a couple coats of epoxy on them, and you go right to top coat. That's what was great about epoxy.
If you were restoring a car today, and let's say you had a magic wand and you could get the old school DP or the F4921, which one would you take?
4921.
Really?
The problem with DP is it takes a long time because you had that week before you had to sand it, and that tells you that it's not curing, right?
Yeah.
So you put something over the top of that, what's going to happen? As it cures, anything shrinks as it cures, right? So as that DP cured, you get shrinkage. That's why it sucks to use DP as a sealer, because it shrinks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could wait an hour, you can wait a day. I don't care. It's still going to shrink. A week later, after you paint that car, you sand and buff it, you get the thing out in the sun, that DP, I promise you it's going to move, and it's not going to look as good as when you first sanded and rubbed it.
The problem with that is people who don't have a really keen eye, or people who they're not super, super picky like you are, you can take the clear coat and make it look perfect in theory. But when you look through the clear and your base is all messed up or your sealer's all messed up,
you'll see it.
Yeah, it's choppy.
And you won't see it. I mean, you get the thing out on the, you go to the cruise night or whatever. Nobody gives. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
But if you get it under the real lights,
looks like cellular.
And if you're real picky, you will see it.
Especially with a black car.
Yes, you will see it.
Horrible. This is a good one. We had somebody who asked this is, let's say that I'm a 16-year-old kid, please explain to me why like 1K products are junk and 2K products are superior.
It's like the difference between mud and concrete.
How so? The two buckets story?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can take mud and let it dry out, and it's mud, right?
Yeah.
But then as soon as you add water to it, what happens?
Turns into mud again.
Back into mud again. It softens back up, and it's whereas if you got a dirt road versus a concrete road, right?
Yeah.
The dirt road always goes to hell, gets potholes and everything else in it, and the concrete road, well, if you're in Michigan, it's all got potholes anyway. It doesn't matter, but
less potholes.
But they last a hell of a lot longer, right? It's the same thing with paint. Paint is a thermal set. 1K is a thermoplastic. It's always moving.
So with the 1K, it just dries. It never cures.
It never cures.
If you get gas or thinner on it, you can melt it.
Yes.
But with the 2K, it dries, but it actually cures.
It cross-links and
changes.
It's a chemical cross-link, yes.
And that's probably why it costs more, too. Because it's a little more high-tech, concrete versus mud.
Yeah.
So we're talking about base coat here. So correct me if I'm wrong, because everyone says that Shopline, and obviously there's Shopline Plus, and then there's Omni and Omni Plus. They're exactly the same.
Yes.
And then other people say, they're only 99% same because Shopline, you could get it through platinum distributors, so they might have two or three different things.
If you want to count a label as 1%, then they're 99% the same.
But they're pretty much the same.
It's exactly the
Shopline,
same. Chemically,
Omni.
it's the same thing, yeah.
And Shopline is obviously PPG's lowest end. Is Shopline a little bit better? A lot better? Shopline Plus?
Shopline Plus.
Or Omni Plus?
Here's the deal with that. Talk about base coat, right?
Yeah.
Shopline base coat or Omni base coat. You'll notice that if you go to spray it, it takes a boatload of paint to get it to cover.
Yeah.
That's because they put a lot of binder in it. Okay. They put it's a clear. It's basically a clear toner. So when you mix up a gallon, they're maybe putting 2 quarts of actual toner in that can. The rest is a clear filler. So it's like adding clear to it. That's why it doesn't cover very good.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what keeps the cost down, because that clear costs a lot less than, say, the pigment. Whereas Shopline Plus or Omni Plus, they're using more pigment, so you're getting better coverage.
Okay.
Almost to the point of DBC. It's close to DBC. Now, it's not the same. DBC is a urethane.
Yeah.
And it's they call it a cab resin.
Okay.
Whereas the Shopline is more of an enamel. It's like the old Del Star, but they use a converter to make it a base coat.
I know a lot of people like the Shopline epoxy and the high build urethane. It's JP37X, so 371, 5, and 7.
Shopline epoxy's shittier than DP.
All right. So, yeah. So you would recommend, and obviously people like it because it's cheap.
It's cheap, yeah.
How about the 202 that you're like if you were a urethane
That's pretty
guy?
decent stuff.
For the
If you're
money?
using a urethane primer, that's actually
Yeah.
pretty decent stuff. There's some really decent stuff in
Yeah.
Shopline and Omni. Like the Shopline Plus base coat, if I'm looking to save a few bucks,
Yeah.
Shopline Plus color is about half the cost of
Yeah.
DBC, and
Yeah.
it's just about as good. I would use the Shopline color and then put a good high-end clear on top of it.
Let's say I was trying to save money. Do you like, I mean, most Shopline Omni clears are junk. That's probably pretty safe to say.
Some of them are better than others.
What do you think about, like, let's say JC 6700, 6800?
Those are really good.
Those
Those
like,
are
at the
really
top
good.
Of it? In the world of Shopline and Omni,
Yeah,
are those
and
the
then
better
and then
ones?
in Omni you got 161 and 2800, I
Okay.
think, and they're the same.
Okay.
161 is 6700, and 2800 is 2800.
Okay. So if you're trying to save money,
And if you want to know what they are,
yeah.
product wise,
Yeah.
161 is 2002.
The old 2002?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah, it
That-
is. It's just tweaked to give you the 4-to-1 mix ratio,
Okay.
right? But resin wise, and it's got the UV screener in it too. And 2800 is the old. It's DCU 8200 or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 80. Yeah, it was.
Not
82.
Del Glow, but it's the old Strato
Yeah.
clear.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
it's good stuff.
All right. What about this new paint line? Because it's obviously Omni and Shopline are their entry, and then their Plus, and then their top dog and solvent. It was DBC. Now they call it NXT.
Yeah.
This new one, Velocity.
Don't
What do you know about that?
Don't know no. Well, I know a little about it, but I've never sprayed it.
Yeah.
So I can't.
What's the word around the campfire? Like, where did it come from?
It come from Europe.
Okay.
It was Max Meyer, which is the same company that started Envirobase.
Okay.
But this is their solvent line.
This is a polyester
It's
resin?
a polyester
Okay.
resin.
Okay.
from
Which
what I
is like
understand.
Diamond?
Yes.
Okay.
Diamond or Sickens, I think is polyester too.
Okay.
I think BASF. Yeah, BASF is,
Yeah.
is. I don't know that much about it.
You heard anything good or bad?
I've heard way more good than any bad. I haven't
Okay.
really heard anything bad about it.
Yeah. Good.
It's priced decent. It covers well. The match seems to be pretty good. I don't really have any experience with it, so I can't say one way or the other.
Have you heard though that it's kind of a standalone system where if you're using it, you can't intermix like Shopline and NXT, like reducers?
Pretty
and
sure
products?
they have their own set of reducers on that whole deal. Yeah.
And again, these are all rumors. I just didn't know what you've heard because you're going to hear this stuff before me.
Yeah, I, like I said, I don't know that much. I don't know that I'll ever get a chance
Yeah.
to spray it, but
Well, when we get the system, I'll
well,
come
yeah,
down to it.
I'll try it on something.
Again, don't let me put words in your mouth. You said if you could have one clear, you would use the 8152. Now it's called 5050. You liked it better than 2021. What's up with the 5700? What is it good for? Why is that not your favorite clear? Like,
So that's a
kind of like a death match. Compare the two.
that's a low VOC clear,
Okay.
right? So it's got this solvent in it called Oxol.
Right.
Okay, that's what makes it VOC compliant. Oxol is getting ready to go away.
So does that mean 5700
I
might
would
go
imagine
away?
it probably would if they can't have Oxol. So there's a lot of clears that use Oxol. Any VOC compliant clear, like 5700 in the PPG line, you've got the EC 520, 530, 550. Those all have Oxol in them. And I know that there's currently they're banning Oxol. So any of the primers that use Oxol, any of the sealers, any of that stuff that uses Oxol, and PPG's not the only company
Yeah.
that uses Oxol. I mean, all these paint companies, that's the only way they could get things VOC compliant. It doesn't count into the VOCs because if you'll notice, anything you use with Oxol tends to be very heavy. So what it does is instead of it going into the air, creating problems with the ozone layer, it stays down, which creates problems with the water table. So that's a reason why the EPA is probably looking to ban that.
If you had both of them,
5700 as a clear, though, is a nice clear.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm not crazy about Oxol because it's very heavy, and it tends to stay in the paint film, right? So I know that if, and I can tell you this because I've sprayed parts with 8152 and I've sprayed parts with 5700, and they both, when I spray them, they both look really good.
Yeah.
But a week later, the 5700 will tend to pinch a little more than the 8152, and that's because of the oxal.
Okay.
Because the oxal stays in there longer, and then as it comes out, it starts to give you a little bit of a.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it sands and rubs really nice, and what's really nice about it is if you're doing things like graphics or you're doing that big bass boat metal flake, it fills very well. It's got and it holds. Like on the edges of stripes and
Always
things like
likes to
that.
run.
Sometimes you get those runs. Well, 5700 doesn't do that.
Okay.
So it's good, and it's very clear too. It's
Yeah.
got really good clarity.
You
to
like it more in 2021?
No.
No?
No, I just don't like the oxal.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a fan of oxal.
All right. That's it.
I've used it on a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
It's nice stuff.
So-
it's not my favorite.
I know we're talking a lot about restoration and custom and stuff like that. But in the production collision world, forever it was etch and urethane, etch and urethane.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like obviously urethane is still the king,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But if you go to the top 10% out there, they're using Waterborne, they're using UV as their primer. What is, which one do you like better if you were going to use one or the other? And what's the difference between UV and water, like performance wise? Do you have a thought or opinion on
Well,
it?
they both cure pretty quick. They're both essentially a 1K.
Yeah.
Although they're not like your traditional 1K, because once they dry and cure, you can't move them.
Yeah.
They both have their place.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't even know what I like better because I was a water guy forever. As long as I don't spray it too wet and use too big of a tip, which is always my problem, and then you get the cracks.
Yeah.
But then I've been messing around with David's system because they use all BASF UV.
Yeah.
And man, it's nice. And so
The UV is real nice.
it brought me back to PPGs, but I've done this the last couple
but
years.
the UV is probably 3 times the price of the Waterborne.
It is. See, like in
That could be a factor.
the funny thing is let's say you go buy a quart of UV. I think it's like $220.
Yeah.
It flips people out.
Yeah.
But you don't mix it. You're not buying any hardener. And I swear that quart goes way farther than any quart of 2K urethane ever did.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're looking at the piece sheet and you're like, oh, it doesn't fill as much. And you got to put it over a finer grit. If you do your body work nice and you put it on there, I love how it looks. And I love the fact that it can cure in days versus weeks or a month.
So UV?
Yeah, the UV.
cures in 2 minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I was saying UV and water, sorry.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that I can have a super product that can cure it. Like, a lot of guys will prime in the morning and paint in the afternoon. Dude,
Yeah.
I didn't even we'd prime one day, let it sit overnight, production. We would open it up and either bake it, put it outside, put a heat lamp, and then paint it the next day. And that even made me a little weird. But
It's still going to shrink.
but yeah, but
It'll still shrink.
but
Yeah.
with the Waterborne and the UV, I could prime in the morning, paint in the afternoon, and then not have those problems.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why.
The Waterborne kind of got a little bit of a bad rap.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is self-inflicted.
Yeah, the EPW
a lot of it
115.
is a lot of it is user error.
Okay, what were they doing wrong with it?
Well, a couple things. If you're putting it on a cold panel,
Yeah.
it's not going to work good. It's
Yeah.
not going to stick good.
Cheap sandpaper.
Yeah. If you use that from Evercoat, that
Yeah,
What
the
is that?
1K.
what is that pinhole stuff?
Yeah,
that
David,
they-
do you remember what it? What is it?
440.
440. Oh, that's
440.
horrible.
God, I
horrible.
hate that.
Yeah,
Just
horrible.
don't be a hack. Mix your filler right, and you won't get pinholes. But if you use that stuff with Waterborne, it ain't gonna stick to it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it skins over, and the Waterborne just doesn't stick good to that stuff. So that's another thing. If you put it on too wet, you mentioned it. If you put it on too wet and you try to dry it, it'll mud crack on
Yeah.
you. So you got to put a lighter first coat on, dry that, and then you can put on more. You can over apply it. You don't if you're putting more than 3 or 4 coats on, that can be a problem.
Yeah.
You got to dry it really good between coats. Make sure it's flash between coats.
Yeah.
And what's nice about it is once that last coat's flash, you're sanding on it.
Yeah.
Seriously. And if you can't sand on it, it means you put it on too wet.
Yeah, like I mean, if you can spray good and you use it all the time, I think it looks good. But if you have some student or some rookie, which why would they be messing with that stuff anyway? And they don't have their system down, I think it can be like a nightmare. But if a technician's using it, and like my problem is, and I don't remember what it says, but I think the P sheet says something like you can use a 1.6 or a 1.8. So of course, I'm going to use a big tip. You know, I want to get, you know, film thickness. Not for the way I spray.
1.4.
Yeah,
I use a
no,
1.4.
that's what I use.
Well, and the other thing too is it's got its place. You got to use it on the right kind of job.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to use it on somebody's mudded a whole quarter panel or a whole box side on a F-150. You're not going to use a waterborne primer on that. You know, if it's a small repair, door dent or something like that, or scratch or whatever, that's perfect for that kind of job.
Yeah, I think, and don't quote me on it, like BASF's UV,
Yeah.
they want a 0.9 tip, and PPG is like a 1.1.
Yeah, I believe
So,
that.
I mean, it's like super small.
Yeah.
And I think
Because it can be over applied.
Yeah.
And if it's over applied, it doesn't cure right. The UV light won't work the way it's supposed to if you put too much film on that stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that people are afraid to try it because of the cost, or, hey, this is the way I've been doing it. And I get like that too, man. I got a system, it works or whatever. But man, I think that waterborne and that UV, if you're doing production collision and you're doing, you know, 50 cars a week and you want to figure out how to get to 60 or 70 or whatever, I know it seems like it costs more money up front. I think it might actually be cheaper if used correctly, like to increase production.
It's new stuff. It's new technology. I mean, if you didn't try it, you'd still probably be using lacquer primer.
What's wrong with lacquer? We'd put it in a can.
Yeah, we'd still be using lacquer. You know, I've been doing this for 40 years. So 40 years ago, you were using lacquer primer, dude.
Would you use UV or water in restoration or custom?
I would use it for some small stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it for a whole vehicle.
Yeah.
But if I had a small repair or something to do, yeah, I've used it before.
Okay.
For
And
stuff
like,
that.
I got to get this done. You're worried about shrinking. Just,
yeah.
just an insurance
Yep.
policy.
Yep, I've done it.
If you had to pick UV versus water and you can only have one, marry one, and the other one dies, which one are you rocking?
Probably UV.
UV?
Yeah.
The only cool advantage about like water is you don't need to buy the expensive light. But I mean, I guess you can put it outside.
Yeah.
Waterborne sure been changing with the enviro base and all the ups and downs. I don't know if we want to get into all that, or do we?
You know, I mean,
There's a lot of good and bad
again,
going on
it's
with
been
that.
a while since I've sprayed a lot of waterborne, but I did have the experience with that new
Modifier, one choice modifier. That's pretty sweet.
one visit modifier, OVM.
Crazy expensive.
It is, but you know, from what I have experienced with it, if I was in a shop, I'd be using it.
Amen.
You know, if I was in a production shop, I wouldn't use it on every job.
Yeah.
But man, that stuff works great.
How about this? Well, let's take the collision guys out of it. Let's talk about like the garage guys. Let's talk about like the restoration and custom guys. Can you give us just a quick like death match, solvent versus water? What do you like better in what situation? Why? The pros and cons.
Garage, I'm probably gonna use solvent.
Solvent.
Yeah.
How come you don't like waterborne in a garage? Waterborne base coat. What's the problem?
You don't really have the air movement and stuff in your garage that you need.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a hard time drying each coat.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably. I mean, I've sprayed water in my garage and I've got through it, but I prefer.
What if it's a high humidity day in my garage?
You're in big trouble, man. You better have a heat light.
All right. What about like if I'm in a shop? Let's say I'm in a modern restoration shop. We have a booth. When are you going to use solvent versus water, or what do you like about one versus the other?
I think that solvent, if you're doing restoration work and you're looking to go with old original OE colors and things like that, I think it's easier to get there with solvent.
Okay.
The color palette is more in tune to the older stuff.
Okay.
Whereas Waterborne has a good color palette and that you can get some really pretty colors out of it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to duplicate that old style color metallic. Those tend to be a little dirtier.
Yeah.
You know, whereas the water tends to be a little clean. The metallic flakes are different. The cut on the flake is different, so it doesn't look quite the same.
I think it was plum crazy. Didn't you have like a lacquer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
I
had
had original It was actually straight enamel, the old synthetic enamel.
Yeah.
Before acrylic, it was factory pack.
There was one color you had. You had a lacquer spray out. Then you had DBC.
Yeah.
So solvent. And then
Yeah.
you had EnviroBase.
Yeah.
And it
was
was the
plumb
same.
crazy.
It was
It
the
wasn't
same
lacquer,
paint
it
code.
was- yeah.
Yeah. But they
Yeah.
look like
2210. That's the paint number.
they look like completely different colors.
Yeah, they do.
You put them down. I mean, even the EnviroBase.
DBC was closer than the original straight enamel that I had. The synthetic enamel was on the money because
Yeah.
I've held it up to a true plum crazy car. DBC was pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
EnviroBase wasn't even remotely close.
I'm not talking about matching old paint jobs and stuff, but like, let's say I was gonna paint my car and I chose a color. It's kind of amazing to look at how ugly some of the lacquer metallics and pearls are compared to, like, especially the Waterborne.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you put them side by side, it's almost like finding out Santa Claus like wasn't real. Like I think I lean towards solvent.
Yeah.
And you know, and I probably because I'm more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And whatever. But I got to admit, if you're doing like a candy or metallic or pearl, and you put that Waterborne next to it, is some, not all, colors, they just look, they look gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, actually, water candies are nice.
They're just gorgeous.
They really are.
You know, I got the little magnifying glass with the light and the lube or whatever, and I'll kind of look into them deep and stuff, you know, and it's just, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous how nice the water looks.
I'll tell you, if I was painting in a production shop,
Yeah.
I'd want to use water.
Water.
Yeah, I prefer water because the color matches better, and
Okay.
I think I can go faster with water
Especially
than I
on
can
modern
with,
cars.
Yep,
and
I think
all
I can
that.
go faster with water than I can with solvent.
But if
Truly.
you're doing solvent, or if you're doing restoration and custom, you might lean towards
Well,
solvent.
the other thing too is, so if I'm in a restoration shop doesn't paint that many cars, right? So if you've got that mix system in your shop, the other thing you have to remember on water is that you have a shelf life on those toners. They're good for maybe 3 to 5 years, which goes by a whole lot faster than you think it will. Whereas solvent, if you've got a DBC or an NXT system, those toners will last you forever if they're taken care of properly. You know, if the air, if they don't get exposed to air.
Yeah.
But even a closed waterborne toner has a shelf life.
With my hardeners, I got this notice, and tell me what's your thoughts on. If I open up some hardeners, they might only be good for 14 days. Depending on like what kind of hardener is. Obviously not etch or not epoxy.
Right.
But like my urethane hardeners, like my catalyst, my activators, whatever you want to call it, how long are those really good for? And is 14 days always correct? Is there any like
technically the lab will tell you a week, 7 days.
7 days
After you open that.
So I buy
lid.
a $400 quart of DCX 61, and
Yep.
I pull that top, and the nitrogen comes out. That
Yep.
bad boy may be junk in 7 days.
Could be.
What?
Usually it isn't.
Yeah. What would you feel comfortable using? How long?
Well, when I open hardener, I always take a Sharpie and I write the date on it so I know how long it's been open. I would admit to using hardener that was open for a year
Yeah.
and not having an issue.
Yeah.
I might test it first.
Yeah.
And the way I test it is I'll mix a little up and I'll let it sit overnight and see if it kicks.
Yeah.
If it kicks, I'll use it.
How come, like, let's say etch and epoxy hardeners can last a year
They're
or
not
two or more?
isocyanates.
So-
Isocyanates pull moisture in. You can usually tell when you open up a can of hardener and you look down in it
Yeah.
if it looks a little seedy, or sometimes if it's yellow.
Yeah.
If it has a real heavy yellow cast to it, it's probably bad.
So if this bad boy right here is an isocyanate hardener,
Yep.
and I open it up, and let's say that it's not a humid day out, and I use this much of it, and I cap it, it might last a lot longer than if I open it up and I
It'll
use
last a
this
lot
much,
longer,
and it's
yeah.
a humid day 'cause
Yeah,
of
if
the
there's
water.
just a little tiny bit left at the bottom, I'd be leery of that after a couple weeks.
Especially if I live in an area that's really humid,
Yes.
because of the ISO and the water.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Because a lot of people.
I try to, if I buy hardener, I try to buy the smallest package I can. A lot of hardeners are available in half pints.
Yes.
Like I know for my primer, my sealer, DCX 3030 is available in half pints.
It's a little bit more money, but it makes
is,
me
but-
sleep better at night.
But when you use it, you're using that whole half pint you know, or if there's just a little bit left, it's not that much.
And I know
you're
it's-
not wasting it.
Yeah, I know it sucks, but in like custom and collision, you kind of just have to have better planning. Like, I want to plan it so I use this kit or whatever, because we're not painting for 3 more months.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of make it worth it. I wanted to talk about reducers, but like, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
What about them?
So the old reducers, the old DT reducers. Let me see if I got this straight. We had DT 860, 870, 885, 895, 898, and then DT 1110.
8110.
8110.
Yeah.
Okay. And then those are all gone. There's some on the street still.
Yeah.
But in theory, PPG is not making them
Well,
anymore.
no, they went to the NXT reducer.
And those are 4-digit now.
Yeah, they're basically the
Why
same.
did they change it?
I don't know.
Is it the old global reducer? Or
Two of them are.
2 of them are?
Yeah. Was it 1565 and 1575. 1565 is the old global 870, D870, which is not the same as the PPG 870. And then the
1585, 87.
1575.
75.
There's 75. That's
Yeah.
the old 871, which is actually a really good reducer.
Okay.
I use it a lot for DBC.
They're a lot more expensive.
Yeah, of course.
How come when I grab a gallon of some reducers, it's like heavy?
That's Oxol.
And then the other one
That's
is not.
Oxol.
So if the Oxol
That's the
goes
low
away,
VOC. Yeah,
all that stuff might get hit too? Or?
Yeah, it's all going to go away.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll all go away.
I know you don't have a crystal ball because no one knows what the Fed's doing, but if you had to take a guess, when does that
I
happen?
thought that'd be by now, but it isn't. So I'm not sure what the
Yeah.
time frame is on
Do you
that.
think 26, 27 if you had to guess?
No idea.
All right. Fair enough. Do you think that the new 4-digit DT reducers are better than the old 3 digits?
They're the same.
They're the same?
They're the same. 1585 is the old 895, and 1595 or 1595 is the old 898.
You're saying it's the old Global or it's the old
It's
Deltron?
No, that's Deltron. The last two are Deltron.
Okay.
And then they have another one that's a cross between 898 and 8110.
The only advantage that, and tell me if I'm crazy, the only advantage that I see going to the 4-digit, which I hate, because like I can't keep it straight in my head. I got to look at it. It does seem like I have to buy less reducer. Like I only have to buy 2 of them now versus before. We never stocked 860, 870. Very rarely we would have 1 gallon of 885. And the only way I'd ever use 885 is if I was priming something on the floor and I was in an igloo. And like maybe if you're garage painting, but we typically were 895, 898. We had 1 gallon of the 110, the 1110.
8110. Yeah, that's for really hot days.
And we'd use like a cap.
Yeah,
here,
you don't
cap
use
there.
much.
Like, you know, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think it'd take us 10 years to use a gallon of
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, in theory, we were stocking 2 reducers or 4 reducers that we barely use. It seems like now that I could stick with 2,
Well, for NXT, you could probably get away with
1 or 2.
1575 and 1585
Yeah.
for most of the stuff.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that stuff's like $140 a gallon now.
Yeah,
like street
well,
price.
it's same as Deltron. They just put a different label on it and charge 20%.
Maybe I'm
more,
not
you
ready
know?
for the 2026 prices. I'm so old. I remember.
I can't believe how much paint costs right now. It's just I saw a thing posted the other day on white toner DMD
You get free.
1684, and it was
I know the guy who posted
it
that.
was like $1,200
Yeah.
as a list price on a gallon of white.
We've seen the
White's
same
supposed to be
post.
the cheapest color there is. I was like, holy crap, man.
I think the DBC, obviously now NXT 9700. I think sucker price could be $800-900 a gallon
Probably.
for black.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that
I
stuff was
remember I got into it
$180.
with some guy a couple of years ago about price of paint. And I said $10,000 gallons. There's more. There's $20,000 gallons.
They're
of
like,
paint.
oh, for the labor and that, like,
For-
no,
for the-
materials.
no,
Yeah,
no.
1 gallon
for
of
1
paint.
gallon of
Yeah,
paint's
yeah.
$20,000. It
Well, that-
depends on the pigment.
That's what he's painting. What's the paint code? G6. So Ford G6, not the first Mystic, but the second Mystic.
Yeah.
He's got a Ford Lightning F-150, and you put black on it, then you do that.
Yeah.
But he's going down that road.
Oh yeah, it's stupid expensive.
It's a gorgeous color, though, if you're into that. I know you don't work for PPG anymore, but what are you most proud of, like, in their lineup? Like, what do you think that PPG always did better than, let's say, the other companies?
Like they made better clears or better primers or not true or
I always thought they were a little weak on their primers.
okay.
I thought DBC was a really easy product to use. I don't know if it was the best out there.
Yeah.
I thought their clears were really good. I don't know if they still are, but
Yeah.
you know, I know like 8152 and 2021. They stood the test of time, man. They're still out there and they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
You know. So I would say that.
You get PPG materials for life?
They're water. Well, I use it because I know it. You know.
Yeah.
The Waterborne for the longest time, nothing could touch it.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's other systems out there now. Like
Yeah.
I know Sherwin's got a really good water system, and you know, there's some pretty good stuff out there now.
Yeah.
You know, they've caught up.
Yeah. No, I meant, do you get PPG free materials for life?
I don't get nothing for free, man.
That's not part of your retirement package?
No.
You don't like going there with like a card and just like take stuff off a shelf and leave?
It always costs me something, man.
Man, that's crazy. That's not fair. What was the worst part of your job when you were a trainer at PPG? I know there's a lot of good things, but tell us the worst part of your job.
The worst part of the job.
Yeah.
The end.
Then
The end. When they closed the training center and they had me out on the road doing in-shop
Yeah.
certifications, it was absolutely horrible.
Nightmare.
I hated it.
I
I hated it because you know that you go in, the guy'd be like, "Oh man, I'm glad you're here, but holy shit, I'm busy. How long is this gonna take?"
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you were in a training center, you got them away from their environment. They listened to you. They got a lot out of it. They got way more out of it than just, you know, we'd go into a shop and check the box. I think they really missed the boat on that. The training department has really suffered since that time.
If you don't know what we're talking about, PPG Detroit, which was actually in Wixom, Michigan,
Yeah.
Jeff ran that, 20 years? 24 years.
24 years, yeah.
That's where we used to go for our training. And now I got to go to Chicago or Cleveland, or they're like,
Columbus.
Columbus. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or like a lot of these trainings, like for iCar PPG, like we just do it online.
Yeah.
Dude, am I that old? That's crazy.
It's worthless.
That's crazy.
It's worthless.
Yeah.
What are you getting out of it?
Nothing.
You're
A
getting
certificate
nothing out
that
of it.
says that I'm an idiot like the rest of the idiots
You're
out
checking
there.
a box.
Yes.
You got you're having an issue or a problem, you got nobody to talk to.
The
about
value that we got going to that 1 8-hour class or 2 8-hour class, I mean, I actually looked forward to the training. And like PBG or BASF or Sherwin, you guys got to keep doing that, because I know they probably didn't make them a bunch of money having these training centers, and they may have lost, but that's why we
maybe it's hard to put a number on that.
Yes.
Because anytime we were in front of someone, we were selling the product.
Absolutely.
You know, and people would buy that product based off of what we would recommend a lot of times.
We had our differences. I've been with PPG for 30 years.
Yeah.
I started with DuPont, I went to BASF, and then I went to PPG, and I haven't left them for 30 years. And there was a lot of good products out there. There was a lot of people who came with, we'll beat their price, we'll beat this, we'll beat that. But the fact that you were at the training center, I could make a phone call, I could get training. That's why we stay with PPG forever. And it wasn't because PPG would buy me beer or give me tickets to MIS or they had better clear, better primer than someone else. Everyone's stuff is pretty good out there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a good product. They really do.
We like their training, and I really think that companies are missing the ball. Like these big CEOs or whatever that look at the bottom line and stuff. I think that that's going to backfire on them if a company starts doing
One
that.
time they had 18 training centers all over the country.
What are they down to now? Probably
6. I think it's 6.
just go online. You can learn everything
Yeah.
online.
And I tell you, they don't run near the classes they used to. Try to get signed up for a class. Good luck.
I've looked down
Because
there.
most of those trainers are out on the road doing something else other than being in that training center.
I thought the worst part of your job would be this, and tell me, and you were always better at this than me. So this is why, you know, you would go to a class, there was 20 people in the class, and most of the people are cool. There was always some know-it-all who knew more than you. And of course, he was the dumbest one in the room. And he wanted to, like, you know, show you what he knows and how long he's been doing it.
You know, I'll
And-
tell you, in 24 years, I
Yeah.
can probably count on one hand the number of times that happened.
Yeah. How do you deal with those guys, though? I mean, you were always a lot cooler because I've had those guys. I've
Usually,
seen
you
those
just
guys.
let them run their mouth, and everybody else takes care of it.
Yeah.
Everybody else tells them to shut up.
Yeah. It blew my mind. It's like, if you know it all already, why the hell are you taking this class?
Why aren't you teaching this class?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Now most people aren't like that. You
But
know, I didn't experience too much of that.
I'd never seen you get upset with those guys, which kind of blew my mind. It's like I don't know. You got a better temperament.
I
than me.
kind of thought it was funny, you know.
I don't know. I got one for you. You can't say Charlie Hutton either. You win the lottery. You want to get a car built by someone painted, bodywork and paint. And you can take it to one shop. You can't do it yourself. You're going to pay someone to do it.
Why the hell wouldn't I do it myself?
I don't know. This is just a make believe. I want to know, because you've been all around the country. You've met a lot of different guys and
If
stuff.
I had that kind of money, I'd just
Buy it done.
buy a building and
Yeah.
have a
who
have the
would
booth
you
and-
have paint your car?
Who would I have paint my car?
I mean, there's a lot of guys you've met, a lot of builders that you've seen out there, a lot of systems. You can't say Hutton because you guys are buddies. So who do you respect the most as like,
Ryan Corrick.
okay, where's Ryan Cork
He's
from?
out of New Berlin, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine too.
And how long have you known that dude?
I've known him probably 20
Is
years.
he the shop owner or just
He
the
is a
painter?
shop owner, yeah,
Okay.
but he does the painting too.
All right.
Yeah.
And is he obviously uses PPG? That's probably how you met him originally?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
So-
mean, there's a few places I'd
Yeah.
have, you know, there's
Give a shout out to Ryan Cork. Am I saying his name correctly?
Yeah, Ryan
And
Cork.
we got to give a shout out to him. I mean, if you impress Jeff, you obviously got to be doing a good
there's
job.
some guys in Linden, Den's place.
Yeah, I had.
They do great work.
yeah. Those guys are cool. I had two of the sons come
Yeah.
through the program.
Yeah.
I like nice people. Too.
Yeah, really
Like,
good people.
not only did they do good work, they were just great people.
yeah.
So what's up with Hutton? What's he doing these days? Is he still running the
I
shop
think he's bringing a car to Detroit this year.
for the Riddler?
Yeah, grade 8.
Yeah, grade 8.
He will never tell you he's going for the Riddler. He'll always tell you he's going for the grade 8.
Yeah. How many more years before he hangs it up?
I think this might be the last one.
Especially if he wins it?
I don't know. I don't think he's really too concerned about that.
Do you know what year, make, and model is, or can't say? Or?
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, I figured.
Not
Got any
supposed to
pictures
say.
on your phone?
I had, yes, I do, but I'm not gonna show them to anybody.
If you're not familiar, the Riddler, and it's RIDLER, is, in my opinion, the highest award you can win in the world of automotive customizing. It's only given out at one place, and that's the Detroit Autorama. I'm going to say it's at Cobo Hall. It's technically Huntington Place now, but it'll always be Cobo Hall to me.
It's Cobo.
And yeah, it's always Cobo Hall. But you know, it's coming up at the end of February, and man, just to have a car on Riddler Row, and just, you know, to have a car, you know, take a grade 8. I mean, that's like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
huge.
big deal.
There was a huge problem with this clear coat EC 5030. Do you know the story behind that? Did they
530?
fix it? 530. Sorry, that's dyslexia. 530. What's the story? Where are we at with it? You don't have to throw anybody on the bus, but like, where are we at with it?
It would delam,
Yeah.
which is a big reason why they came out with hardeners for the base and things like that.
Is it fixed now or not sure?
Well,
Would you trust
I
it?
think the problem is that if you rush the base and you don't fully evaporate the water out of it, that clear was more susceptible to delamming
Yeah,
than
the
other
peeler.
clears. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And I mean, that was a high and expensive clear too.
And it was not just that; it was more the colors. Some colors were more susceptible to it than others, like red.
Yeah.
Red was really bad.
Yeah. It seemed like OE white and red was
White
always the
and
two
red were
peelers.
bad because if you noticed, if you ever sprayed EnviroBase
Yeah.
and sprayed red and white, they would tend to feel a lot stickier for a longer time than, say, like a silver
Yeah.
or a beige or something. Like the metallic colors seem to dry up quicker than the solid colors. And I don't know if that was because you put them on wetter just naturally, or if it was just part of the pigment would cause that, or what. But
I heard
that's what the problem was.
I heard a stat recently, and I find it hard to believe, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Somebody told me that like PPG had like 68% of the auto body markets in Michigan, and like, because I always heard it was BASF.
I think they did it one time. I don't know if they still do.
That seems crazy high.
Yeah, they had a,
You know,
they
like
had a big,
almost 7 out of 10
big
shops
piece
in
of the
Michigan.
pie. Yeah.
Okay. So is it in North America, back in your day, was PPG the biggest and BASF was second, or were they both? Like, because DuPont's gone.
I think at one time it was PPG and DuPont were
Two
the
big
big
boys.
ones, or Exalta,
Okay.
and BASF was in there, and then you had like Sherwin and
If you weren't allowed to ever use a PPG product ever again, what company would you go to?
man, I don't know. Probably BASF.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just made David happy.
Yeah, I
Look
probably
at that
would use
guy over there smiling.
BASF. I mean,
You should hear what he says about PPG when you're not around. I want to fight this guy sometimes. You can only have one paint gun forever. Top coat gun. Get one tip size, whatever. Brand new in the box, but all the other ones get thrown away. Which one are you going to rock with for your sealer base clear?
Techna.
Techna?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
The Techna copper or don't care?
The old Techna copper.
77,
Yes,
22
77,
PSI max.
1.3.
1.3?
Yep. That gun will do anything.
I know you're Mr. DeVilvis, and that was my first gun was a DeVilvis.
Well, I mean, I like Sadas, I like Awadas, but
you like what you like. 'Cause DeVilvis is your first gun, so you like, and I get it. I was a DeVilvis hater, and when the Plus gun came, like the GTI was a good gun. When the Plus gun came out, I was like, holy shit. I guess DeVilvis aren't junk.
Yeah, that was a really good gun.
A friend gave me the Techna and didn't tell me how to use it.
Yeah.
I'm spraying it at like 29 PSI and painting with it and stuff. And then I'm like, this gun sucks. And then I take it apart and I'm looking at the air cap and it says 22 PSI max. I was like, oh, so I made a phone call and, hey, what's your settings? I guess you do that before you use a gun, but I didn't. And we did it. And I actually used that gun for a whole summer and like fell in love with it.
I know. I really like that gun.
I think dollar for dollar too, because it's not expensive. I think it may be one of the best guns in the world value wise too.
It's inexpensive. And I think they still make that gun. They
do.
still make the old
Yeah.
big body Techna.
I didn't like the colors though, the chrome, the bronze, and then Painter Supply and Equipment had a blue one.
Yeah, they change the colors all the time on them.
They weren't horrible, but I just never like fell in love
But
with
I
them.
mean, that's the gun that I use all the time. My clear gun, like I said, I use that Sada. I can lay the clear pretty good with the Techna, but I'll tell you that Sada really, if I'm wanting to really slick a job out, the Sada is what I use.
You got much trigger time with the new Jet X?
No, none at all.
They got all the kinks worked out of them.
None
now.
at all.
When you do your next paint job, can we let you borrow our Jet X and you can play with it?
I'd try it. I mean, I use the 3000 for clear.
Yeah.
I did use a lot of the 4000. I like that. I
Yeah.
could not stand the 5000.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't like the 5000.
Yeah.
The 5500 was better.
Yeah.
And depends because they had that whole weird IO thing going.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Jet X.
The Jet X does too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't used the Jet X.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
I never liked 5000, but the 5500 was a really good gun. The 5500 reminded me more of my 3000 than any other gun I sprayed.
I always like the 3000. I admit I'm a 5500 RP. I think I'm an old guy with a 1.2, but it's got to be digital. But the Jet X, like I'm a hater. Like
I've still got a 2000.
2000.
Yeah,
I still got,
a Jet 90. Yeah, I've still got one of those too.
I got an NR2. No, just kidding. I was gonna say NR 2000. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time as always, and definitely, I mean, if you'll come back, I'd love to do another one in the future. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thanks.